Chapter 1414. The myriad Tao Divine Palace was established by gathering countless Tao sects that were at odds with the three pristine palaces' orthodoxy. Therefore, one could find all kinds of Tao sects' legacies in the myriad Tao Divine Palace. Looking at the appearance of this palace, it was obviously a sect established by a great grandmaster who was proficient in divination. It was even to the extent that the divination result was very likely to be the last thing that the great grandmaster had divined before the great calamity descended. The reason was simple. The moment Chu Xiu opened the door, his body had already decayed. Even if that person wasn't proficient in martial arts, and was only a grandmaster-level character in divination, to be able to have such a large palace in the myriad Tao Heavenly Palace, and to be able to lay a formation capable of withstanding the ancient era's calamity, that person was, at the very least, a martial immortal. Even if such an existence did not deliberately train his physical body, the strength of his physical body was comparable to the diamond white jade, immortal through the ages. Now, after more than 10,000 years, he had turned into dust. Clearly, he had exhausted all his strength before he died. Chu Xiu took the tortoise shell and carefully looked at the words on it. The writing was very messy, but he could still distinguish it. Below those words, there were a few more scribbled words, as if they had been written in a hurry or in a moment of hesitation. If they were to be linked together, it should be like this: Demon Lord, appearance; Yellow Springs, return; Great Tribulation, appearance; longevity, opening. The four words above should be the key words that the divination grandmaster had divined, and almost all of them had come true. And now, a single word was the way to deal with these things. Putting it all together, it should be the appearance of the Demon Lord, the return of the Netherworld Heaven, the appearance of the Great Tribulation, and the opening of the Longevity Heaven? But when he thought about it carefully, he felt that something was wrong. The order was wrong. The latter two did not correspond. The Great Ancient Tribulation had already passed, so this Great Tribulation should correspond to the Great Tribulation that would occur 10,000 years later. But where was the tribulation? There were many signs before the great calamity of ancient times. Countless divination masters had predicted the arrival of the calamity. Although this was the beginning of a new era and a time of great competition, even the Taoist master had not divined the emergence of the Great Tribulation. As for the Longevity Heaven, although Dugu Weiwei and Taoist master were searching for it, it was only a legend so far. There was something wrong with the first two as well. The Demon Lord has appeared, and the Netherworld Heaven has returned? The order seemed to be reversed. The Yellow Springs Heaven should have appeared, and then the Demon Lord in the Yellow Springs Heaven would have returned. Could it be that the ancient divination grandmaster got the order wrong? However, after thinking about it carefully, he realized that it wasn't right. Divination grandmasters of this realm would be able to divine very messy things, but there would also be a lot of information. The words on the tortoise shell were divined by the divination master at the cost of his own life. How could he make a mistake on such a simple matter? Just as Chu Xiu was feeling puzzled, a sound suddenly came from the northeast. It was the fluctuation of the Heavenly Heart Sutra. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows. Did Yi Xiaonan encounter someone from the mysterious heaven realm? These guys really didn't learn their lesson. They actually ran back so quickly. Chu Xiu put the tortoise shell into his robes, and with a flash, he headed in that direction. Time rewound to a quarter of an hour ago. In a serene hall in the northeast, countless runes and talismans enveloped the entire hall, causing it to be impossible to discern its original shape. But in the hall, a bone sword suddenly appeared and tore through the void. A middle-aged cultivator wearing a black robe and a black lotus crown walked out of it. The middle-aged warrior's face could still be vaguely seen as the handsome face of the past, but now it was torn apart and stitched up with bone spikes. He looked a bit ferocious. He pulled out the bone sword and slashed in another direction. A crack appeared, but the crack was a bit small. Monk Longtu struggled to climb out. Hua Nongyu, are you sincere? Can't you open the door a bit wider? Hua Nongyu humphed coldly and said, It's good that I didn't open a dog hole for you. The Myriad Tao Celestial Palace is a mission given to me by the Master. Why did you come here? Your mission failed, so you came here to freeload on my mission? Monk Longtu humphed coldly and said, Bullsh *t. Who said I failed the mission? I released the original spirit. Why did I fail? What about the third eye? What about the Tan Sect's evil spirit? One was robbed, and the other was smashed into pieces. That's half the battle. Long Tu humphed and said, Huanong you don't know how kind I am. We are not the only ones looking for these places. Chu Xiu is also looking for them. Why does he know about these places? I don't think I need to explain. It's okay if they don't find them. What if they run into us? Are you sure you can defeat them? Don't forget who he is. The arrangements in the dragon veins of Eastern Qi, Northern Yen, and Western Chu have failed. The cow-nosed Taoist and the other two have been turned into ashes. Their souls have been destroyed. The three of them didn't want to serve the master. Even if they turn into ashes, they turn into ashes. We got a part of the dragon veins anyway. But we can't make any mistakes. I failed half the mission. You can't fail the other half. If the mission fails, you and I will be responsible. If we succeed, you will be the one to get the most out of it. What do I want? Huan Nongyu raised his eyebrows, but he couldn't make a complicated expression on his face. Okay, you're kind this time. But why do I feel like this place is dead? Are you sure the people of 10,000 Paths of Celestial Palace left any resentment? Long Tu shook his head and said, To be honest, I am not sure. But after all, those people were the elites of Taoism who had fought against the Three Pristines Temple 10,000 years ago. Before the Great Tribulation, they were so miserably deceived, and not even one of them walked out. How could they leave nothing behind? Although it is possible that they left something behind, it was destroyed in the disaster. But I believe in the master. His calculations shouldn't be wrong. Just then, there was some power coming from outside. Clearly, someone was tearing the palace with brute force and destroying the spells outside. Huan Nongyu's expression changed. You are right. The people outside have found 10,000 Paths of Celestial Palace, but looking at their power, they aren't Chu Xiu. They seem to be from moon-worshipping cult. Monk, you go block the people outside. I will go in and find those things. Long Tu laughed coldly. What are you thinking? Even if I help you this time, most of the credit will be yours. In the end, you want me to do the most difficult and tiring work? The people outside are your disciples. I will let you deal with them. After saying that, Long Tu walked deep into the palace. Huan Nongyu scoffed coldly and didn't say anything. He walked out of the palace. At this moment, outside the palace, countless goo worms were desperately attacking the talismans outside the palace. Some of the insects broke the spells and caused the spells to explode. It killed a bunch of insects, but they were instantly filled up again. Moon-worshipping cult's method of breaking spells was simple and violent. They used lives to fill up the spell, but they were the insects' lives. The high priest of the moon-worshipping cult was a little speechless. The talismans in this place are so secret. Could it be the palace at the center of the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace? Should we inform cult leader Chu to come and take a look? East Emperor Tai said, I think we should play it safe. We don't want to call Cult Master Chu and find out we made a mistake. That would be embarrassing. While the two of them were talking, the palace that was covered in spells cracked open a door. Huan Nongyu's body walked out. Looking at the many bugs around him, Huan Nongyu chuckled. He whistled and created a strange melody. The strange thing was that under the melody, the goo insects seemed to be possessed. They stopped attacking and stood still on the spot. Thousand Goo soul-suppressing song. Who are you? The high priest and Donghuang Tai shouted at the same time. The Thousand Goo soul-suppressing song was a secret technique of moon-worshipping cult. It was the ultimate technique to control insects. It was said that it could control 10,000 insects at the same time. Note, it was 10,000 insects, not 10,000 insects. The Thousand Goo soul-suppressing song was strong. By controlling one insect, one could control an entire group of insects. So, theoretically speaking, the Thousand Goo soul-suppressing song could control all the insects in the world. In moon-worshipping cult, no one had mastered this secret technique. Yi Xiaonan did not learn it because he did not need it. Among the past leaders of moon-worshipping cult, Yi Xiaonan was the most amazing one. At the same time, he might also be the only one who used moon-worshipping cult's venomous insect technique as an auxiliary cultivation, but he himself majored in martial arts. The High Priest, East Emperor Tai, and even moon-worshipping cult's Holy Virgin did not learn it. It was not that they did not want to learn it. It was just that with their talent, even if they were half a step away from being a god of martial arts, they would not be able to control it. But now, someone was using this secret technique in front of them. How could they not be shocked? Huan Nongyu gently shook his head and said, "Alas, it has been 500 years. The people of moon-worshipping cult are either dead or gone. No one remembers me anymore? But your growth is beyond my expectations. Among these insects, I do not know 1/5 of them. Is this the result of your 500 years of hard work? Who is in charge of moon-worshipping cult now? I remember that before I died, I passed the position of the leader to Ming Shuixin. He should be dead." Hearing Huan Nongyu's words, the high priest seemed to think of something. He said in shock, "Ancestor? You are Ancestor Huan Nongyu from 500 years ago?" Huan Nongyu's appearance was too sudden. Plus, his face was twisted, so they did not recognize him. Only after hearing what Huan Nongyu said did the Grand Priest remember why this person looked so much like Huan Nongyu, the hierarch of the moon-worshipping cult 500 years ago. But Huan Nongyu's tomb was still in moon-worshipping cult. How could this person be him? Chapter 14:15. Huan Nongyu's appearance caused the people of the moon-worshipping church to feel very strange and at a loss. They couldn't understand why a person who had died 500 years ago, whose corpse was still buried in the moon-worshipping church, would appear before them. Huan Nongyu couldn't be bothered to speak to them. He waved his hand and said, "Subordinates of the moon-worshipping church, bring your people and guard outside. Do not allow anyone to attack this place. On the other hand, if anyone attacks, stop them outside." Dong Huang Tai and the high priest looked at Yi Shaonan. They didn't know if the moon-worshipping church's leader from 500 years ago was real or fake. But even if he was real, it wasn't 500 years ago, but 500 years later. In their eyes, there was only one leader, Yi Shaonan. If Yi Shaonan told them to back off and acknowledge Huan Nongyu, they would back off. If Yi Shaonan didn't back off, it would be simple. He would just betray his master and destroy his ancestors. After all, they demonic cultivators never had any scruples about hypocrisy. Seeing everyone's gazes, Huan Nongyu also turned his gaze to Yi Shaonan. "You are the current leader of the moon-worshipping church? Fifth heaven martial immortal. To be able to reach such a realm in a lower realm, not bad. Take the people of the moon-worshipping church and back off. I'm done with my business. I will teach you some of the secret techniques of the moon-worshipping church." Yi Shaonan softly spat out these two words. Huan Nongyu was taken aback, as if he didn't hear it clearly. He asked in disbelief, "What did you say?" Yi Shaonan said calmly, "I said you are trash. 500 years ago, the world was filled with warlords fighting for hegemony. It was a chaotic era, but it was also an era where heroes emerged. What were you doing in that era? Hiding in the moon-worshipping church and playing with goo worms, sealing off the Miao territory, not even having the courage to leave West Chu. You wasted a magnificent era. If such a person isn't trash, what is he? I don't know if you have reincarnated or taken over a body, but if I were here 500 years ago, I would have definitely rebelled against you and kicked you off the position of leader. Now, I am the leader of moon-worshipping cult, not a piece of trash like you. Do you still want me to listen to the orders of a piece of trash?" Yi Shaonan's self-restraint was actually very good. Even when he led the moon-worshipping cult to rise in the past and fought against the entire orthodox martial arts world, he did not go so far. In fact, he was a person who spoke the truth. Those people were his enemies. Trash was trash. He wasn't arrogant enough to tell them that trash wasn't worthy of fighting him. But Huan Nongyu, the moon-worshipping cult leader who was born 500 years ago, made him very angry. Yi Shaonan wished he had been born 500 years ago, but Huan Nongyu did not cherish it. He had been a coward in the moon-worshipping cult for his entire life, yet he was still complacent about it. If such a person wasn't trash, what was he? Huan Nongyu froze for a long time. He furiously shouted, How dare you? Bastard! You know nothing. Do you know how terrifying that person was 500 years ago? Do you know what kind of existence he is? I'm trash? I dare to fight against people. I dare to fight against the orthodox martial arts world people. Do you dare to fight against a god? In that era, I was able to ensure that moon-worshipping cult was not destroyed. That was a great achievement. Yi Xiaonan coldly said, You don't even dare to face him. That is why I said you are trash. Do not use the faction as an excuse. The previous god master died, but Dragon Tiger Mountain is still there. The abbot of the Great Light Temple is dead, but the Great Light Temple is still there. In the end, it is because you don't dare. You are trash. It is as simple as that. How dare you? You want to die. Huan Nongyu's face looked ferocious. In his opinion, Yi Xiaonan's power was not bad, but he was just a junior in moon-worshipping cult. But now, this junior was humiliating him by calling him trash. How could he tolerate that? Plus, Huan Nongyu thought highly of himself. In his opinion, he was the most important leader in the history of moon-worshipping cult. He was the one who led moon-worshipping cult to survive that dangerous era. Without him, moon-worshipping cult would be gone. There would be no chance for this junior to talk nonsense. In his rage, Huan Nongyu waved his hand. A blood mist went into the bodies of the gu around him. At the same time, he played the Thousand Gu soul-suppressing song. He controlled the gu to attack Yi Xiaonan. The high priest and the others were shocked. They immediately started to control their own gu to escape the control of the Thousand Gu soul-suppressing song. They did not care who Huan Nongyu was. Even if he was the ancestor of moon-worshipping cult 500 years ago, they would still stand next to Yi Xiaonan. They would help him destroy the ancestor. Yi Xiaonan was the leader of moon-worshipping cult. Their power was given to them by Yi Xiaonan. Who was Huan Nongyu? Did the existence of 500 years ago have anything to do with them? So, the High Priest and East King Tai did not need to choose. They knew what to do. Among the gu of moon-worshipping cult, some of them had been created 500 years later. Huan Nongyu did not know much about them. The gu stopped under the control of the High Priest and the others. They put them away. Even so, there were still a lot of gu coming for Yi Xiaonan. One finger mended the sky and cracked. The rules around Yi Xiaonan were breaking and reforming. They were all under his control. The space in midair was twisting. The gu, which had bodies, were completely destroyed in the twisting space. Huan Nongyu's face changed. What kind of skill is this? This is not moon-worshipping cult skill. This is not moon-worshipping cult's power. It is not moon-worshipping cult's power, but it is my power. 500 years ago, if moon-worshipping cult did not improve, they would be as useless as you. Yi Xiaonan's words made Huan Nongyu mad. Many gold gu came out of his body. It was like a sky full of swords raining down. At the same time, Huan Nongyu made a hand seal. The fire rule all went to the gold gu. Although the golden gu insect was a living creature, it possessed extreme sharpness. After being possessed by the fire with rule power, it did not melt. Instead, it had a burning presence that could burn one's body and soul. It was very magical. Compared to Yi Xiaonan, who was different, Huan Nongyu was more like the leader of moon-worshipping cult. He practiced both gu and martial arts. Not only did he make many powerful gu, but he also put his own power into them. They complemented each other. Yi Xiaonan was in the fifth sky, and Huan Nongyu's condition could not be measured by normal warrior levels. So, he had the power of a fifth or sixth sky. Yi Xiaonan was in the fifth sky, and Huan Nongyu could not be measured by normal warrior levels. At this time, Yi Xiaonan's sky-mending heart sutra was cast to the extreme. In the sky and on the ground, everything was torn and twisted. The reformed rules wiped out the rules of the gu. Yi Xiaonan waved his hand. The ultimate twin life gu turned into a seven-colored mist. It did not form a clone. It melted into the gold gu and went to Huan Nongyu. Huan Nongyu kept playing the gu's soul-suppressing song. It was almost ear-piercing, but he was still unable to control his gu. At that moment, his face started to change. Huan Nongyu was shocked. When they started fighting, he could feel Yi Xiaonan mainly practiced martial arts. As a result, although Yi Shaonan majored in martial arts, his voodoo was so amazing. How could this rebellious junior be so strong? Huan Nongyu's hands formed a seal. Many transparent bugs surrounded him. They started to consume the space around him. When the golden bugs that Yi Shaonan controlled came at him, Huan Nongyu's body was wrapped up by the transparent bugs. He disappeared in front of him. Yi Shaonan's body paused. The next moment he made a sky-mending seal. The space around him was suddenly torn apart. Mend the sky and crack the earth. The sky-mending heart sutra could mend the sky, but it could also break the sky and earth. At that moment, Huan Nongyu's body appeared in the broken space. His arms were covered by black beetles. He released a deathly presence. Clearly he wanted to sneak up on Yi Shaonan, but Yi Shaonan broke his plan. Huan Nongyu's body appeared in the broken space. He wanted to break free, but before he knew it, a streak of saber radiance had already appeared in the clouds and locked onto him. The next moment, the moonlight arrived and tore his body. His body, which had been stitched up by the bone spikes, was extremely weak. When other people were injured, they would at most spit out blood. With the powerful life force of a warrior immortal, even if their body was cut off, they could rebuild it. But for some reason, Huan Nongyu's body was extremely weak. The places that were injured by the moonlight turned to dust. Huan Nongyu's face finally showed fear. This rebellious junior had practiced martial arts to such a level. He had reached a level that no one had ever reached before. Even the founder of moon-worshipping cult was not as good as him. In terms of Gu skills, even though he did not specialize in them, moon-worshipping cult's Gu skills were perfect in his hands. He used them to the extreme. The red butterfly Gu covered Huan Nongyu's body. It created a storm, trying to take him away. But at that moment, the rainbow mist became a clone of the ultimate twin life Gu. The moonlight condensed in its hand and appeared behind Huan Nongyu. It blocked all of his escape routes and slashed at him. Let him live. Chu Xiu's voice suddenly came from afar. At that moment, the ultimate twin life Gu's moonlight fell. The strong sharpness tore the butterfly Gu around Huan Nongyu. It completely destroyed his body. Huan Nongyu turned into a pile of ashes that floated in the air. Yi Shaonan looked at Chu Xiu and shrugged. A clone is made of Gu. The Gu do not react that fast. You are too late. Chapter 14:16. When Chu Xiu heard the noise and came to check, the battle between Huan Nongyu and Yi Shaonan had already come to an end. Seeing Huan Nongyu, Chu Xiu was not surprised at all. He had already guessed that the life soul might have resurrected these people in Netherworld Sky and used some method to send them to the lower world. They seemed to have the ability to break space. Whether it was in the dragon vein or here, Chu Xiu still needed to find the door to enter. However, as long as they determined the place, they could break space and come. Chu Xiu was always one step behind them. So, seeing such a resurrected person, Chu Xiu wanted to capture them and interrogate them. There were too many things he wanted to know. For example, what was the state of the life soul now? Why did it not return? Was it preparing or was it trapped in Netherworld Sky? Also, what was going on with these people who were resurrected? Aside from some legends of Taoism and Buddhism, most people did not believe in reincarnation. As far as they were concerned, once a person died, their soul would scatter and return to the world. However, Netherworld Sky was the residence of countless evil spirits. Could it be that the people who had died before had all gone to Netherworld Sky? If that was the case, the life soul could resurrect all the dead. That was terrifying and even unsolvable. But now it seemed that the truth of the matter was not what Chu Xiu thought. It was impossible for the life soul to resurrect all the strong people in the past. So far, the people who had appeared in front of him were all strong people from 500 years ago. They were people that Dugu Weiwei knew. It was a pity that Yi Shaonan had acted too quickly. Such a living person had been killed by him. Chu Xiu shook his head gently and said, "Forget it. If he is dead, then he is dead." The great priest of moon-worshipping cult asked carefully, "Cult Master Chu, do you know why the ancestor of moon-worshipping cult from 500 years ago was resurrected?" Looking at Chu Xiu's expression just now, everyone could guess that Chu Xiu should be able to recognize these things. Otherwise, he wouldn't have shouted for mercy. Chu Xiu pondered for a moment and said, I am now an ally of the moon-worshipping cult. Logically speaking, I should not deceive you. I know that the powerhouses from 500 years ago were resurrected, and it wasn't just your moon-worshipping cult's patriarch alone, but I don't know why they were resurrected, and why they became like this. Just now, I asked Cult Master Yi to leave one alive because I wanted to interrogate him. But because some things involve secrets that are difficult to disclose, I am sorry that I cannot tell you. Yi Xiaonan nodded and said, Nothing. When the high priest and the others heard this answer, they were not dissatisfied. Instead, they had a good impression of Chu Xiu. If Chu Xiu didn't want to tell them secrets, they couldn't force Chu Xiu to tell them. Now that Chu Xiu had at least told them the truth and did not lie to them, they still had a good impression of him. Looking at the door that Huan Nongyu had opened, Chu Xiu asked, Everyone, aside from Huan Nongyu, have you seen anything else? Dong Huangtai shook his head and said, No, he is alone. Chu Xiu's face changed. If that is the case, we need to speed up because there may be someone else inside. The purpose of the elites who had been resurrected 500 years ago was clear. They came to a place to complete a mission. In the original God Palace, Monk Longtu's mission was to release the original God and Tanzong's evil thoughts and get the third eye. Within the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, it was clear that something from 10,000 years ago was also sealed. Huan Nongyu didn't release that thing and complete his mission, but he was fighting Yi Xiaonan outside. There were only two possibilities. One was that his brain was filled with bone ash. He didn't complete his mission and was fighting moon-worshipping cult outside. The other possibility was that he was fighting moon-worshipping cult to buy time. There were other people in the Myriad Path's Celestial Palace. At this moment, in the deepest part of the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, Monk Long too broke through the densely packed talismans along the way. He scolded, What are these Taoist priests thinking? It's one thing to set up so many talismans on the outside, but they even set up so many talismans on the inside. Have they not considered the possibility of not being able to come out if they survive the ancient times? When the spells were all broken, the central hall appeared in front of Monk Longtu. The center of the hall was empty, but there were statues of Taoist lords and godly venerables erected around it. They were the Taoist true gods worshipped by the major sections. Longtu grabbed a handful from the ground and blew on it. White powder scattered in all directions. He was familiar with this thing. It was bone ash. Monk Long too shook his head and looked at the statues in the hall. Although all of them looked dignified, they were wrapped in black energy at this moment. Vengeful thoughts wrapped around them, making the entire hall seem extremely sinister and terrifying. Monk Longtu walked forward and swept away the ashes on the ground. He took down a talisman in the empty hall. In an instant, the entire hall began to boil violently. Vengeful spirits roared and vengeance charged into the sky. The vengeance energy in the statues gathered together and intertwined with one another, turning into a really terrifying existence. That thing looked like a huge vengeful spirit that was hundreds of feet tall, but it had hundreds of heads packed together. It gave off a very creepy feeling. Monk Longtu smiled. Tiki, everyone, or should I say everyone? How does it feel to see the light of day again? But don't worry, there is still a talisman outside that hasn't been opened. Speaking of which, I really admire your character when you were alive. Even at such a time, you still didn't forget to lay down 2 heaven-reaching talismans to seal the vengeance energy. You all really have a Buddhist heart. The existences in front of him were vengeance energy, the vengeance energy of those in charge of Myriad Dao Celestial Palace. Actually, it was normal to die in the ancient calamity, so after 10,000 years, there weren't many secret realms that had these vengeance energies left. However, the prerequisite was that they had died in the great ancient calamity, and not because they were forced to die in it. For example, when World Sword Sect went to the Daluocean, they were so vicious that they killed 90% of their low-grade disciples, causing them to form vengeance energy and turn into vengeful spirits. The current Myriad Dao Celestial Palace was the same. They didn't have to die, or rather, they didn't have to all die. There were many warriors that survived the ancient calamity. The other small sects also had survivors, so there was no reason for Myriad Dao Celestial Palace to be completely wiped out. But because of the three Pure Palaces scheme, Myriad Dao Celestial Palace's small world was placed in the center of the Great Calamity. In the entire Myriad Dao Celestial Palace, not a single survivor survived. This kind of powerful vengeance energy would definitely turn the survivors of Myriad Dao Celestial Palace into vengeful spirits, and they would be extremely powerful existences. In the past, the people of Myriad Dao Celestial Palace had also thought of this point. It was unknown what their considerations were, whether it was because they felt that it was a disgrace for them to turn into vengeful spirits, or simply because they didn't want to bring disaster to the pugilistic world after they died, so before they died, they laid down 2 heaven-reaching talismans to suppress the vengeance energy. The Myriad Dao Celestial Palace's vengeance energy suddenly looked at Monk Long 2, hundreds of eyes releasing a deep red glow. "Let me out. I will give you whatever you want." Monk Long 2 said indifferently, "Don't be in a hurry to boast. You have been sealed by the heaven-reaching talisman for over 10,000 years and have only just gathered. You aren't much stronger than me. Can you give me what I want now? I represent my master. He is that existence in the depths of the netherworld. You have a vengeful spirit body, so you should be able to sense it. I can let you out, but you must let me leave a mark in the depths of your vengeance energy. When my master returns, I will sweep this world for him." "What? You said that you are his man?" The Myriad Dao Celestial Palace's vengeance energy body roared. Hundreds of heads opened their mouths at the same time, and their voices stacked together like the wailing of 10,000 ghosts. Monk Long 2 pointed at himself and said, "In my current state, other than that person, who else can do it? You have no choice, someone has already come in from outside. Seeing your current state, as long as the news is leaked, the 3 Pure Palace will definitely wipe you out." The vengeance energy body didn't hesitate too much. He wasn't one of those Dao sect experts when he was alive. He was just a vengeance energy, but because these Dao sect experts had a common vengeance energy, they merged together without any rejection after death, forming such a body. In his eyes, there were no gains or losses, only revenge against the 3 Pure Palace and negative emotions of destruction. So he directly said, "Okay. But if you dare lie to me, even if that person is behind you, I will tear you to pieces." Monk Long 2 smiled and said, "We are all ghosts in the world. Do ghosts lie to ghosts?" After saying that, Long 2 took out a talisman and imprinted it on the body of the vengeful spirit. Instantly, extreme yellow springs energy exploded and filled the vengeful spirit's body. It even caused his strength to increase by a large amount. At that moment, Chu Xiu brought Yi Shaonan in. Seeing Chu Xiu come, Monk Long 2's expression changed. Why was he here again? His worries had come true. If he was here, then Hua Nongyu's soul must have been completely destroyed. Looking at Monk Long 2, Chu Xiu's lips curled into a smile. "You escaped rather quickly last time. Let's see how you escape this time." After that, Chu Xiu said to Yi Shaonan, "Sect leader Yi, go get the books and the statues. I will deal with this monk and the ghost." Each of the statues in the hall held a small box in their hands. Clearly, these were the most important ancient books of their sect. The statue in the north had a blurry face, but its aura was the strongest. The box in its hand was most likely a book. Monk Long 2 laughed coldly and said, "Chu Xiu, you are too confident." After that, Monk Long 2 said to the vengeance energy, "Now, it is your turn to attack." After that, Monk Long 2 immediately opened the second sky-high seal. Endless black vengeance energy spread. The vengeance energy body roared and rushed toward Chu Xiu with an angry, cold wind. Chapter 14:17. Having encountered the resurrected fellows from the Yellow Springs Heaven many times, Chu Xiu could roughly guess what they wanted to do without interrogating them. Those fellows simply wanted to dig out the things buried 10,000 years ago in preparation for the Fate Soul's return from the Yellow Springs Heaven. As for how the Fate Soul would return, although Chu Xiu did not know, there was always a chance to capture one alive and interrogate him. Seeing the collective of resentment rushing towards him, Chu Xiu did not panic. He formed a cross-shaped lotus seal with his hand, And immediately, a dazzling Buddhist light burst out. The holy cross-shaped lotus bloomed, purifying the evil spirit of resentment. Illuminated by the cross-shaped lotus seal's light, the collective of resentment immediately howled in pain. Several of its hundreds of faces were immediately extinguished. The collective of resentment was actually not too strong. Its foundation was equivalent to the seventh heaven of martial Immortal, but its true battle prowess was only around the sixth heaven or fifth heaven. As they were the collective of resentment and not martial cultivators, they only had pure power. They did not have the various moves and comprehension of martial arts that martial cultivators possessed. As a result, their overall battle prowess could be said to be very weak. They were easily suppressed by Chu Xiu. The third eye on Chu Xiu's forehead blossomed. However, this time he did not activate the power of yin and yang. Instead, he activated the power of the source energy of yang. This was something that Chu Xiu could not do before. Before he had the third eye, Chu Xiu could only use the power of creation to passively activate the power of yin and yang. It was a buy one get one free. He could not refuse it even if he wanted to. But now, he could activate one power by himself. The backlash was actually very small. The scorching sunlight instantly illuminated the entire hall. Under the suppression of Chu Xiu's source energy of yang, the collective of resentment let out mournful howls. The black smoke around it dissipated. Monk Longtu's expression changed again when he saw this. Chu Xiu had actually fused with the perfect third eye. How did he do it? Even the original god, the most outstanding existence in the original god palace, could not fuse with the third eye. How did Chu Xiu do it? Before Monk Longtu could think more, Yi Xiaonan had already made his move. He waved his hand, and the seven-colored mist turned into the supreme twin life goo. His clone went to take the scriptures of the myriad Tao celestial palace. Yi Xiaonan himself attacked Monk Longtu with a heaven-mending seal, forcing Monk Longtu to retreat. He kept cursing Huan Nongyu for being trash. He could not even deal with his own junior. What trash was he? But Yi Xiaonan's combat strength was indeed extremely shocking. He forced Monk Longtu to retreat step by step. He was unable to fight back at all. But Huan Nong's Yi Xiaonan? Before Chu Xiu and Yi Xiaonan could react, the majestic black water surged into the hall. A giant hand stretched out of the boundless black water and instantly crushed Yi Xiaonan's sovereign twin lives goo clone before charging straight at the Tao scripture. Chu Xiu snorted. Yin and yang qi flowed in his third eye and exploded. The giant hand in the black water was torn apart. Bai Yuchen brought the warriors from the mysterious heaven realm in and laughed. Cult Master Chu, we meet again. Thank you for blocking this thing. The mysterious heaven realm will gladly accept the scriptures of the myriad Tao celestial palace. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Yuchen's figure moved. The absolute Blackwater domain directly enveloped the statue of the Taoist scripture. Clearly, he intended to obtain the item first before doing anything else. Gladly accept? Do you have the ability? Chu Xiu snorted and stopped attacking the resentment. Instead, he turned around and slashed at Bai Yuchen, forcing him to retreat. When the resentment saw the mysterious heaven realm, its hundreds of eyes shone with a frightening cold light. Mysterious heaven realm. You bunch of damned lackeys, go to hell. Go die. The resentment of the myriad Tao celestial palace was not only directed at the three pure palace, but also at the mysterious heaven realm. The mysterious heaven realm had been a lackey for the three pure palace for so many years. Although they had their own thoughts, they had clearly stood on the three pure palaces' side when dealing with the myriad Tao celestial palace. Now that the myriad Tao celestial palace had fallen into such a state, the mysterious heaven realm played a role. When enemies met, their eyes turned red. When the body of resentment saw the people from the mysterious heaven realm, it immediately changed its target and attacked Bai Yuchen. Bai Yuchen was at the 8th level of the heaven realm, so he was naturally not afraid of this kind of resentment. If he let it go and absorbed the evil thoughts and resentment in the world, it might be more difficult to deal with it. But now, he was not afraid at all. He formed a seal with his hand, and threads of black water condensed in the air. However, the black water was flashing with black lightning. Mysterious water demon slaying thunder. The black lightning smashed down and struck the resentment, causing the surrounding black fog to rise and a large portion of its power to evaporate. However, Chu Xiu took the opportunity to use the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. At the same time, he put on the invincible holy demon body and pushed his strength to the extreme. With a loud bang, he punched and shattered Bai Yuchen's Blackwater Absolute Domain. He was even blasted into a statue in the main hall and shattered it. Monk Long too shouted from behind, "Don't forget who your greatest enemy is. Go and stop Chu Xiu first. Why are you fighting someone from the mysterious heaven realm?" Although the resentment was unwilling, now that Monk Long too had left an imprint on his body, he was already under his control. Therefore, the resentment immediately changed directions. Countless black smoke curled up and pounced towards Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu's eyes revealed a cold glint. "Sect leader Yi, take down that monk first. If you can capture him alive, do your best." Yi Xiaonan nodded and immediately rushed towards Monk Long too, ignoring the Tao scripture. With such a huge commotion, the old celestial master rushed over with the people from the celestial master abode. However, when he entered the hall, he was confused. What's going on? The people in the hall were already fighting, especially Chu Xiu, Bai Yuchen, and the myriad Tao Sky Palace's resentment. Chu Xiu and Bai Yuchen both wanted to fight for the Tao scripture, so they were attacking each other. Under Monk Long Tu's command, the resentment amalgamation blocked Chu Xiu, but it also had a deep resentment towards the people from the mysterious heaven realm. Monk Long Tu's imprint could affect it, but it couldn't completely control the resentment amalgamation. Therefore, when the resentment could no longer be suppressed, it would attack Bai Yuchen. The three sides fought back and forth, and it was a complete mess. The old celestial master shook his head. He couldn't care less and directly joined the battle to stop the people from the mysterious heaven realm. Bai Yuchen looked at the mess and couldn't help but say to Chu Xiu, "Cult Master Chu, what are you trying to do?" The Tao scripture of the myriad Tao Sky Palace belongs to the Taoist lineage. It's a treasure to the mysterious heaven realm, but what use is it to you? You mainly cultivate demonic techniques. Although you also have traces of Taoist techniques and some Buddhist techniques, you don't mainly cultivate these two sects' techniques. Why don't we both take a step back? Give the Tao scripture to me, and I'll compensate you later. How about that? If the three pure temple had said this, Chu Xiu would have agreed. Chu Xiu wanted the Tao scripture to prepare to trade Dugu Weiwei's blood essence with the three pure temple. However, the problem was that this matter was proposed by the mysterious heaven realm, and there was nothing in the mysterious heaven realm that Chu Xiu desired. Therefore, he just shook his head and said, "Sect Master Bai, it's not that I have to snatch this thing from you today, but the Tao scripture of the myriad Tao Sky Palace is really useful to me. Why don't we trade? You give in and I'll trade with you. How about that?" Chu Xiu's words were sincere, but in Bai Yuchen's opinion, Chu Xiu was deliberately teasing him. Therefore, Bai Yuchen shouted angrily, all right. Chu Xiu, you're very good. In that case, let's rely on our own abilities." As Bai Yuchen's voice fell, the Dharma of Emperor Xiantian appeared behind him again. This time, the boundless black water enveloped Imperial Lord Xiantian. Bai Yuchen formed a seal with his hand and forced out his blood. The scarlet blood fused with the black water, creating a strange sense of beauty that was both black and flowing with the color of blood. In the next moment, a powerful tremor came and Emperor Blackwater began to melt. The power fused with the surrounding small world and actually began to devour the small world where the myriad Tao Sky Palace was. The original meaning of the mysterious heaven realm was actually the name of a mystic realm. The mysterious heaven realm was the northern black sky. It was an extremely strange small world. The heaven and earth were upside down, and countless black water that could dissolve all kinds of energy floated in the air. The mysterious heaven realm's martial arts were evolved from this black water. And now, what Bai Yuchen was doing was using his own strength to recreate the mysterious heaven realm of the past. This was the strongest divine ability that all the sect masters of the mysterious heaven realm had to master, and it was also a divine ability that only the sect master could master. Mysterious heaven transformation realm. Everything in the surroundings was decomposed and assimilated, recreating the mysterious heaven realm that had been destroyed in the past. At the same time, the collective resentment roared towards Chu Xiu. The black mist was filled with a large amount of death qi and negative resentment, as if it wanted to assimilate Chu Xiu. A cold glint flashed in Chu Xiu's eyes. The yin and yang source energy in his body was drawn to the extreme, and the yin and yang light in his third eye was extremely glaring. Creation yin and yang, heaven and earth millstone. As Chu Xiu put his palms together, the turbid air rose and the clear air fell. Everywhere it passed, everything was crushed, as if it wanted to completely shatter the world. In the face of such a powerful force, the collective resentment could only flee in all directions. It had no way to resist. When Bai Yuchen felt this power, his expression changed. He used all his strength to support the mysterious heaven transformation realm, allowing the black water world to maintain its power in the midst of the heaven and earth millstones tearing. Finally, he felt the crushing power of the heaven and earth millstone dissipate. Before Bai Yuchen could prepare to counterattack, the surrounding powers suddenly changed and became extremely scorching. The heaven and earth fused and shattered, and yin and yang returned to chaos. Furnace of good fortune. Chapter 14:18. In the past, when Chu Xiu had obtained the source of yin and yang and comprehended the fusion, he had actually comprehended two types of divine abilities: the worldly millstone and the furnace of creation. The former used the power of yin and yang to crush all living things, while the latter recreated the chaos of creation and reshaped the world. All this while, Chu Xiu had never used the latter, not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't. The prerequisite for using the latter was to first use the power of yin and yang to crush the laws of all living things before recreating the creation. However, before Chu Xiu completely controlled the worldly millstone, his power was almost depleted after using this divine ability. He even suffered a backlash, so how could he still have the power to use the furnace of creation? Only now that he had complete control of the worldly millstone's power could Chu Xiu use this move without worry. The entire hall was filled with all sorts of crushed power fragments. There was earth energy, vital energy, fluctuating storms, and even the shredded power of the laws floating around. As Chu Xiu unfolded the hand seals, these powers seemed to be pulled into a huge furnace and were being reshaped. At the beginning of the primal chaos, the world evolved, and any existence in this primal chaos could only be used as fuel for the furnace of good fortune. Chu Xiu forced himself to say, "Sect Master Yi, Old Celestial Master, quickly go and get the Taoist scriptures and other cultivation techniques." In the boundless furnace of creation, two balls of chaotic mist enveloped Yi Shaonan and Old Celestial Master. Only they could move freely in the furnace of creation. When the surrounding blazing aura was about to refine everything into chaos, Monk Longtu was completely flustered. Chu Xiu's power was so powerful that it could kill him instantly. No matter what he did, he couldn't block it. He didn't want to die. To be more precise, he was someone who had already died once. His soul had sunk into the Yellow Springs blood sea, and he didn't want to experience that boundless suffering anymore. Therefore, when he was fished out by that person and given a new body, the venerable Long Tu from 500 years ago was already dead. All the grudges and grievances of the past had vanished like smoke in thin air. He completely submitted because he did not want to die again. Now that death was upon him, Monk Longtu gritted his teeth and took out a bone sword. He tore open a crack in space and escaped. This bone sword could tear through space at will, transferring power and itself. However, the only drawback was that it could only open two doors. The first door was used by them to cross this kind of array seal and reach the land of the Dragon Vein or a place like the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace to complete the mission. The second path could only be used at a specific place to reopen the passageway to the Yellow Spring sky, and it could only be used by one person at a time. Now that he had used the bone sword elsewhere, it meant that he could not return to Netherworld Heaven. But now, he couldn't care less. He didn't want to die again. Monk Longtu tore open space and escaped completely, but Bai Yuchen wasn't so lucky. The power of the furnace of good fortune was definitely enough to threaten an existence at the 8th level of the heaven. It wasn't a demonized 8th level like Yi Wei Kong, but a true 8th level martial immortal like him. With a loud shout, waves of blood rose around Bai Yuchen and fused into his mysterious heaven transformation realm, causing the world of black water to be infused with a trace of blood color. All of you come to me. Circulate the mysterious heaven real scripture and gather your power. Bai Yuchen shouted. The mysterious heaven realm disciples immediately entered the mysterious heaven transformation realm and poured their power into it. In particular, the other 3 mysterious heaven realm martial immortals also erupted with their blood energy and poured it into the mysterious heaven transformation realm to resist the refinement of the furnace of good fortune. Seeing that Yi Xiaonan and the old celestial master had already obtained the Tao scriptures and other things, Chu Xiu finally didn't have to continue suppressing his power. In the next moment, the furnace of good fortune suddenly erupted and chaos reappeared. The scorching power smelted everything anew and returned it to chaos. Chaos gave birth to yin and yang created all things. This was the normal development of the world and the martial path. However, Chu Xiu's mystique could be said to have deliberately reversed this development, returning all power to the primordial chaos. The surrounding hall continued to collapse. The resentment of the myriad Tao divine palace was also a part of the yin and yang of the world. At this moment, it was being refined by the furnace of good fortune. The collective resentment was completely torn apart and turned into wisps of black gas that finally fused into the primordial chaos. Of all the things released by Monk Long Tu and the others, this collective resentment had died the most unjustly. It could have been stronger. As long as it left this place and absorbed the resentment of all living things, no one knew how much it could grow. In the end, it had just taken form and broken the seal. It hadn't even seen the true target of its resentment before it was completely annihilated by Chu Xiu's furnace of good fortune. It could be said that it was truly unjustly. As the collective resentment collapsed, the hall also completely collapsed and even spread to the outside world. In the end, even Chu Xiu couldn't control the power of the furnace of good fortune. It completely tore this small world apart. Chu Xiu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. When his power was exhausted to the last bit, he forcefully cut off the connection between himself and the mystique. Chu Xiu shouted. Old Celestial Master Yi Xiaonan immediately led the people from Celestial Master Manor and Moon Worshipping Cult to escape from the terror in the small world. Returning to the land of West Chu, Chu Xiu staggered and almost lost his balance. The power of the furnace of good fortune had also somewhat exceeded his imagination. Most importantly, the furnace of good fortune actually wouldn't have a backlash, but it couldn't stop. Previously, Chu Xiu hadn't used it. This time, everything else was within his control except for one thing. Once the power of the furnace of good fortune exceeded the range of Chu Xiu's control, it would extend without limit until it drained Chu Xiu's power. At the same time, it would also transform everything within the range into chaos. Therefore, the next time Chu Xiu used this mystique, he had to pay attention. After reaching a certain point, he had to forcefully cut off the connection between himself and the mystique and couldn't inject any more power into it. This time, he was actually a bit late. Although he didn't suffer from the backlash of the mystique, forcefully cutting off the power of the mystique had already injured him. At this moment, Yi Xiaonan walked over and handed the Taoist scripture to Chu Xiu. Many thanks. Yi Xiaonan said lightly, I keep my word. Chu Xiu was a man of his word, and Yi Xiaonan wasn't a man of his word either. Moreover, the moon worshipping cult had obtained a lot of miscellaneous things in the myriad Tao divine palace. Even the old celestial master couldn't understand the Taoist scripture, so it was useless to him. The old celestial master looked back at the extinguishing small world and asked, the small world has collapsed. Can the people in the mysterious heaven realms survive? Chu Xiu said, it'd be better if they died, but it's a bit difficult. The power brought about by the extinguishing space of the small world could not be withstood by existences in the mysterious heaven realm. However, there were 4 martial immortals in the mysterious heaven realm, so it was possible for them to withstand this attack. Of course, This was not something that Chu Xiu should worry about. He had already obtained the Taoist scripture, so he immediately returned to West Chu to recuperate. At this moment, in the small world of the myriad Tao Divine Palace, as Chu Xiu let go, although the power of the furnace of good fortune was cut off, the chaotic power was still spreading, causing the already fragmented small world to completely collapse. After a long time, the place where the door to the small world was located was completely destroyed by this power, turning into a huge pit that was tens of thousands of feet wide. At a glance, it was as big as a small lake. The ground was torn apart, and Bai Yuqin and the other mysterious Heaven Realm martial artists drilled out of the ground. Every one of them was covered in dust. Bai Yuqin and the other 3 martial immortals had used up most of their blood essence. Under the premise that their vitality was greatly injured, they were able to protect the other mysterious Heaven Realm disciples. But even so, several mysterious Heaven Realm disciples at the edge were pulled into the spatial storm and killed. The mysterious Heaven Realm originally thought that they would be able to take the initiative and obtain the Taoist scripture of the myriad Tao Divine Palace, which even the 3 pristine palace did not have. Of course, the mysterious Heaven Realm did not have the guts to resist the 3 pristine palace, so Bai Yuqin's original plan was to expand the Taoist scripture and keep a portion of its essence. He would then offer the rest to the 3 pristine palace in exchange for credit. However, with Chu Xiu's interference, not only did they not obtain anything, but all their efforts were in vain. Moreover, a few of their elite disciples had died, and they themselves had suffered heavy injuries. They had suffered a double loss. Chu Xiu, I, the mysterious Heaven Realm, will not let you off. Bai Yuqin roared angrily, his voice also filled with resentment. After returning to West Chu, Chu Xiu was not in a hurry to go to the 3 pristine palace. Instead, he borrowed the dragon vein of West Chu and cultivated in it for a month. He recovered all the power he had consumed and his injuries before preparing to go to the 3 pristine palace. Knowing that the Netherworld Heaven Life Spirit could resurrect the experts from 500 years ago and send them to the lower realm, Chu Xiu had always felt a sense of danger. Therefore, he had to ensure that he was at his peak state at all times. Although the warriors from 500 years ago that Chu Xiu had seen were not strong, at least not compared to Chu Xiu. Moreover, they all had a weakness, which was that their bodies seemed to be especially fragile. Ordinary warriors could still fight when they were seriously injured, but once they were seriously injured, they would turn into ashes. But even so, who knew if the life spirit had other trump cards? Monk Long Tu, who was at the peak of the heaven and earth mysterious realm in the past, could be raised to the 5th layer. If the life spirit resurrected Sword Saint Gu Qingqing, Sword Emperor Shin Kangwu, and the others, what kind of strength would they have? Was it possible for them to reach the 8th or 9th layer? Chu Xiu had no choice but to be on guard, so he had been very cautious recently. After recovering from his injuries, Chu Xiu headed to the 3 pristine palace and officially sent a letter to meet them through the West Chu royal family. Right now, the only thing in the lower realm that was worthy of Chu Xiu's attention was the 3 pristine palace. Of course, it was not because the 3 pristine palace was strong enough, but because Chu Xiu did not want to fall out with the 3 pristine palace, so he had to be polite. Otherwise, the heavenly Luo treasure temple would be strong enough. However, the 2 sides had fallen out, so there was no need to be so polite. Chapter 1419. There were many mountains and forests in the land of West Chu, but there weren't many areas that the West Chu imperial court really controlled. Therefore, after the 3 pure temple descended to the lower realm, they found a location in the depths of the 100,000 mountains and established a sect. Anyway, with the strength of the 3 pure temple, the beasts in the 100,000 mountains were no different from kittens in their eyes. Moreover, with all kinds of formations, it was very easy to open up roads and so on. When Chu Xiu arrived in front of the 3 pure temple, the scene in front of him shocked him. The entire 3 pure temple was a typical Taoist palace complex. It was built with a special kind of white jade slab that they brought from the Daluocean that could carry Taoist patterns. This was nothing, but the 3 pure temple was in a semi-suspended state. The dense jungles in the 100,000 mountains were driven by the three pure temples' formation, making them more tenacious, taller and stronger. Some of them had reached hundreds of feet. They no longer looked like trees, but more like pillars that reached the sky. The entire three pure temple was located in this dense forest, and the entire three pure temple was shrouded in rays of light. Chu Xiu was shocked by the behavior of the three pristine's palace, who had built such a flashy palace in a dense forest that almost no one could see. He didn't know whether to describe the three pure temple as rich and imposing, or to describe it as prodigal. At this time, on the tallest tree in front of the three pure temple, Fang Yizhen jumped down, cupped his hands, and said with a smile, "Cult Master Chu, long time no see. Among the warriors who came out of the Daluo Divine Palace in the past, you are the most outstanding one. Before, the elders in the sect told us to work hard to catch up with you. Finally, no one said that." As Fang Yizhen spoke, he took out a golden thing from his sleeve and threw it into his mouth to chew. When he saw Chu Xiu looking over, he handed it to Chu Xiu and asked, "Cult Master Chu, do you want to try it?" Chu Xiu took a closer look. It turned out to be a crispy fried cicada with some seasoning on it. Chu Xiu shook his head and said, "Thank you, but I'm not interested in this thing." Fang Yizhen also shook his head and said, "Cult Master Chu, you are a warrior from the lower realm. There are so many delicious things in the lower realm, yet you are not interested in them. You only know how to fight and kill all day long. This is a bit of a waste. This little thing was taught to me by one of the 9 divine magi of moon worshipping when I went to the moon worshipping cult. It tastes really good. The Daluotian doesn't have such good things." Chu Xiu could see that Fang Yizhen's only hobby might not be cultivation. The Zenith Heaven was a place where martial arts flourished, not a competition of culinary skills. Who would specialize in researching what was delicious? Cultivoff Daluotian had of worshipping and of them were of white. On the contrary, there were many ordinary people in the lower realm, so there was naturally more research on food. For Fang Yizhen, this was simply like coming to heaven. It's not that I want to fight and kill, but if I don't fight and kill, let alone eat these delicacies, I might not even have the chance to eat. Sigh, so boring. Fang Yizhen let out a sigh and suddenly said with a serious expression, "Cult Master Chu, it was the ancestral master who asked me to welcome you. At the same time, I'll give you a piece of news. No matter what you're planning to do, you better be careful. Mysterious Heaven Realms by Yuchen is here. From the looks of it, he must have said a lot of bad things about you." Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows slightly. Bai Yuchen really did not die. An 8th-layer martial artist's life was also very long. "Thank you for telling me this, but aren't you afraid that the Three Pristine's palace will blame you for telling me this? Our friendship isn't that deep, is it?" Fang Yizhen chuckled. "Cult Master Chu, I'm a little sad to hear you say that. You and I are friends after all. Of course, to be honest, I'm only telling you this because I don't like the mysterious heaven realm. Those fellows from the mysterious heaven realm seem to be respectful, but they actually have other intentions. I once mentioned to the elders of the sect that if the mysterious heaven realm were to be overbearing, they would use forceful methods to annex the mysterious heaven realm. The entire northern region does not need the second Dao sect, only the Three Pristine's palace. If they were to be overbearing, then they would completely draw a line with the mysterious heaven realm and no longer have any dealings with each other. In any case, my Three Pristine's palace does not lack the power of the mysterious heaven realm. But it's a pity that my words carry little weight. The elders of the sect do not listen to me. If I continue to be entangled with those fellows from the mysterious heaven realm, I might be tainted with some karma." Chu Xiu nodded and said in a deep voice, "Thank you, Brother Fang, for telling me." The mysterious heaven realm had suffered such a huge loss in the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace. It would be strange if they did not take revenge. However, Chu Xiu was here to make a deal, not to cause trouble. He believed that the people of the Three Pristine's palace were not idiots and would not be easily provoked by Bai Yuchen. At that moment, in the main hall of the Three Pristine's palace, it was just as Fang Yizhen had guessed. Bai Yuchen was really provoking Chu Xiu. There were only 2 martial artists in the palace, both of whom were at the 8th heavenly layer of martial immortal. One of them was Taoist Master Qi Cheng Zheng Tai, whom Chu Xiu had met in the past. He had once stopped him from destroying the sword sects in the world. The other was a middle-aged man who wore a white robe with cloud patterns and had an extraordinary bearing. He was the Dao Sovereign's junior brother, Taoist Master Zhang Huagongbi. Before the Dao Sovereign left, he let Jing Tai and Huagongbi take charge of the Three Pristines Palace together. However, in reality, Huagongbi was in charge. Although Zheng Tai was the oldest in terms of age and seniority, he was still close to the Dao Sovereign. Huagongbi was the Dao Sovereign's junior brother. At that moment, Bai Yuchen said angrily, "Fellow Taoists, it's not that I'm deliberately provoking you, but Chu Xiu's actions are simply too arrogant. The Dao Sovereign and the other 9th Heavenly Layer experts are not here. Who does he think he is? The Lord of the Lower Realm? The northern region is his territory. It's fine if he excludes the Daluotian martial artists in the northern region. When the Heavenly Luo Temple and the Sanskrit sect settled in Eastern Qi, he interfered in the affairs of Eastern Qi. Now that our Dao sect has settled in Western Chu, Chu Xiu has interfered in our Dao sect's affairs and fought for the ruins of the myriad Dao Heavenly Palace. This is simply outrageous. I know that the Dao Sovereign had instructed the Three Pristines Palace not to make any big moves before he returns. However, someone is already riding on our necks. Is the Three Pristines Palace going to tolerate it?" Zheng Tai frowned and suddenly said, "Leader Bai, your mysterious heaven realm is very well informed. Even my Three Pure Palace does not have the news of the myriad Tao Heavenly Palace, but you guys know the news in advance, and the harvest is not bad. Isn't it pretty good?" Bai Yuchen did not look embarrassed at all. He said with grief and indignation, "I know about what happened to the myriad Dao Heavenly Palace back then. I was also afraid that those guys would leave something behind to target the Three Pristines Palace. Therefore, I was prepared to explore the way first and share the things we obtained. In the end, Chu Xiu intercepted us halfway. The Dao scriptures and other treasures in the myriad Dao Heavenly Palace were all taken by Chu Xiu." At this moment, Fang Yizhen walked in and glanced at Bai Yuchen. He then said to Zheng Tai and Huagongbi, "Ancestors, Cult Master Chu is here." Huagongbi nodded and said, "Let Chu Xiu wait for a while. We'll go over now." Bai Yuchen frowned. What was Chu Xiu doing here? He was a little puzzled, but he still tactfully cupped his hands and said, "Since that's the case, I'll go and wait first. I'll come back later to talk to the two of you." After Bai Yuchen left, Zheng Tai asked in a deep voice, "What do you think?" Huagongbi's lips curled into a mocking smile. "What else can I think? I, Bai Yuchen, have been harboring ulterior motives for a long time. I want to monopolize the treasures in the myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, so I came to provoke you. Don't worry about it. However, why did Chu Xiu come to my Three Pristine Palace? Could it be that he wants to explain to us that he attacked the mysterious heaven realm?" Zheng Tai smiled bitterly and said, "Definitely not. I've dealt with Chu Xiu before. His attitude is very unyielding. He only recognizes strength and doesn't care about anything else. Last time, I was ordered by the Dao Lord to mediate the dispute between him and the sword sect of the world. Fortunately, I'm from the Three Pristine Palace, so Chu Xiu gave me face. However, he still extorted a lot of things from the sword sect of the world before stopping. This time, the mysterious heaven realm can only be said to have suffered a loss by provoking him. Not to mention explaining to the Three Pristine Palace, even if the person who attacked was from the Three Pristine Palace, he wouldn't have held back." When Huagongbi heard this, he revealed a faint smile and said, "Is that so? This Chu Xiu is very interesting. No wonder he dared to challenge the Star River Martial Academy's Meng Xinghe and the Brahmin sect's sect leader. Let's go and meet this person and see what he wants." Chu Xiu was drinking tea in the Three Pristine Palace's living room. In less than 10 minutes, Zheng Tai and Huagongbi came out, which was really surprising. This was because the old celestial master had complained to Chu Xiu previously, saying that the Three Pristine Palace had left him hanging for 2 hours before meeting him. It seemed that Chu Xiu's reputation was greater than the old celestial master's. The other party actually came so quickly. Zheng Tai smiled and cupped his hands and said, Cult Master Chu is a rare guest. May I know why he came to my 3 pristine palace? This is Taoist Master Zhang Huagongbi, who is also one of the leaders of my 3 pristine palace. Greetings, Taoist Master Qi Cheng and Taoist Master Zhang. Chu Xiu also cupped his hands and said in a deep voice, I never like to keep people in suspense, so I'll be straightforward. I believe the two of you already know about the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, right? Zheng Tai and Huagongbi looked at each other and nodded. This Chu Xiu really came because of this matter. The Dao scripture of the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace is with me. The complete Dao scripture records the origin inheritance of hundreds of Dao sects in the entire Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace. Although I also cultivate Dao sects martial arts, it's not my main cultivation. These things are useless to me, so I want to take them out to trade with the 3 pristine palace. I wonder if the 3 pristine palace is willing? When Zheng Tai and Huagongbi heard this, their eyes revealed a trace of joy. The 3 pristine palaces' Dao inheritance was much stronger than the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, so they naturally wouldn't focus on their Dao scripture. However, stones from other mountains could be used to improve jade. The 3 pristine palace wanted to collect all the Dao scripture in the world and forge the supreme Dao scripture. The Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace's part could be said to be indispensable. Now that Chu Xiu was willing to take it out to trade, it could be said that it couldn't be better. I wonder what Cult Master Chu wants to trade? Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, It's very simple. The blood essence of that person from 500 years ago will do. I want all of it. When Zheng Tai and Huagongbi heard this, their expressions changed slightly. Chapter 1420. Zheng Tai and Huagongbi had a strange look on their faces. They looked at each other and Zheng Tai asked carefully, Cult Master Chu, can you change the condition? Chu Xiu frowned. Why? Don't you have it in 3 Pristine's temple? Chu Xiu was very sincere when it came to trading with 3 Pristine's temple. The Taoist scripture of Myriad Dao Divine Palace was something that he could not use, while Dugu Weiwei's blood essence was something that 3 Pristine's temple could not use. Since it was something that neither of them could use, it was the right thing to trade. Why did these two look like they were in a dilemma? According to Chu Xiu's knowledge, even the 3 Pristine's palace didn't have the ability to refine Dugu Weiwa's blood essence. Therefore, this thing was basically useless in their hands. Why were they making things so difficult for him? Zheng Tai coughed and said, 3 Pristine's temple does have it, and we even have more than 150 drops, but we can't trade it with Cult Master Chu. Because of the Taoist Master's order. Huagongbi spread his hands in a very casual manner and said, Cult Master Chu, you are very sincere, so we won't hide it anymore. Actually, I don't know why, Senior Brother. Taoist Master wants us to do this. In the war 500 years ago, almost all the major sects that participated in the war obtained that person's blood essence. 3 Pristine's temple has countless secret techniques, so we got the most and wanted to study more. However, no matter if it was the 3 Pristine's palace or the Blissful Devil Palace and the Vishnu Palace of Brahman, none of them had any results from their research. They had wasted a lot of blood and materials, but still got nothing. Therefore, this thing had been put aside, and no one had studied it. However, before Senior Brother took over the position of Taoist Master, he suddenly ordered us not to touch the blood essence of that person 500 years ago. We must preserve it well, not a single drop can be missing. So in our eyes, this thing is useless, but Taoist Master did not allow us to touch it. We would like to trade with you, Cult Master Chu, but the situation does not allow it. Chu Xiu frowned slightly. He did not expect the Dao Master to leave such an instruction. Could it be that Taoist Master had discovered the secret of Dugu Weiwei or the Netherworld Heaven, so what was the use of keeping the essence blood? Chu Xiu thought about it and said, Why don't the two of you contact Dao Venerate and explain this matter to him? Let's see if Dao Venerate is willing to change his mind and trade with me. Zheng Tai shook his head and said, It's useless. We can't contact Dao Exalt for the time being. Since the Dao Master left a month ago, our communication array disk has been completely disabled, and we can't contact the Dao Master anymore. The prestige of Taoist master in the Three Pristines Palace was beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Although Zheng Tai and He Gongbi wanted to trade with Chu Xiu, none of them dared to go against what Tao Venerate had said 100 years ago. Chu Xiu nodded and said, "If that's the case, I'll wait for Tao Venerate to come back and trade with him." Since the Three Pristines Palace did not agree to the trade, Chu Xiu had no choice. With the Three Pristines Palace's strength, could he still force a trade? However, at this moment He Gongbi suddenly said, "Cult Master Chu, please wait." "Is there anything else, Sage Songyu?" He Gongbi said, "Taoist master only instructed us not to touch the essence blood of that person 500 years ago, but he didn't say that we can't touch other things. Cult Master Chu, exchange for something else. There are countless things in the Three Pristines Palace's treasure room. As long as it doesn't involve the Three Pristines Palace's secret techniques, Cult Master Chu can choose anything else." The myriad Tao Divine Palace's Tao scripture was indeed very important to the Three Pristines Palace. It was an important part of their Tao law. It could be said that if Chu Xiu and the mysterious heaven realm did not discover the myriad Tao Divine Palace first, they would definitely make the first move and not give others a chance. Now that Chu Xiu had brought the Tao scripture to their door, how could they let Chu Xiu leave just like that? Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, "Other things are fine, but I wonder if there's a treasure in the Three Pristines Palace that can let me step into the peak of the sixth heaven directly?" Duga Weiwa's essence blood could increase Chu Xiu's strength the fastest and most convenient way. There were no side effects at all. So, Chu Xiu estimated that if he were to refine another 100 drops of Duga Weiwei's essence blood, he should be able to reach the peak of the sixth heaven. As for breaking through, he would need to find an opportunity. He Gongbi was taken aback. Then he sneered, "Cult Master Chu, are you joking? The sixth heaven of martial immortal is not the first or second heaven consolidating the realm. You say you want to step into the peak instantly? If there's such a thing, the Three Pristines Palace will use it ourselves. Why would we wait until we trade with you?" Chu Xiu said indifferently, "Since the Three Pristines Palace doesn't have it, there's nothing else to say. We'll talk about this trade after the Taoist master returns." He Gongbi frowned and took a step forward. Zheng Tai wanted to stop him, but he failed. That made his expression change. He knew He Gongbi's character. Before he became a martial immortal, the Taoist master was already the most outstanding person in his generation. So, He Gongbi could be said to be very respectful and even idolizing the Taoist master. Even his character faintly imitated the Taoist master. But the problem was there was only one Taoist master. Some things were fine with the Taoist master's strength and tone, but with He Gongbi's strength and tone, it was a huge problem. For example, He Gongbi directly said with a domineering attitude, "The Taoist master didn't say when he'll return." Then, are we going to keep this Taoist secret canon in the hands of the demonic path? Cult Master Chu, the Three Pristines Palace is reasonable. As long as you don't ask for too much, we can give you anything you want. As expected, the domineering He Gongbi met the equally domineering Chu Xiu. The atmosphere of both parties instantly became incomparably solemn. Chu Xiu turned around and sneered, "Who's the one asking for too much? The Three Pristines Palace can't give me what I want, so you say I'm asking for too much? Why, does the Three Pristines Palace want to force me to buy and sell? What if the Three Pristines Palace really wants to force you to buy and sell?" He Gongbi's body was already emitting pressure. Chu Xiu was not to be outdone. His forehead was faintly glowing, and his third eye was about to explode. If the Taoist master was here and the Three Pristines Palace wanted to force him to buy and sell, Chu Xiu really had no other choice but to release the heavenly soul. However, the Taoist master was not here, and this was not the Three Pristines Palace of the Daluotian, where there were countless powerful formations. If they really fought, even if he could not win, he could still escape. Therefore, Chu Xiu was not afraid of the other party. Zheng Tai hurriedly intervened between the two of them and cupped his hands at Chu Xiu. "Cult Master Chu, please forgive me. Taoist Master Tsangyu didn't mean that. We'll talk about the Tao scripture of the myriad Tao heavenly palace later." Chu Xiu sneered. It was originally a deal that was in the bag, But he didn't expect such an accident to occur. In the end, they parted on bad terms. After Chu Xiu left, Hua Gongbi frowned and said, "Taoist brother Qi Cheng, why did you stop me just now?" Chu Xiu is indeed insatiably greedy. Even if the Three Pristines Palace doesn't care about our reputation and force you to buy and sell, so what? The Tao scripture of the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace belongs to the Tao sect. If it wasn't for the fact that we went to the Daluotian so suddenly, we could have waited until the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace was destroyed and then obtained the Tao scripture. Zheng Tai sighed and shook his head. "I won't stop you. Today, Chu Xiu will definitely cause a ruckus in the Three Pristines Palace. This is not the Daluotian, but the lower realm, and this is not our territory. Chu Xiu controls the Kunlun devil cult in the lower realm and has a complicated relationship with the martial arts forces in the lower realm. Moreover, on the Daluotian side, the southern domain has been destroyed by him, and the eastern domain sects like the Imperial Sky Pavilion and High Heaven sect have submitted to him. Without the Taoist master here, do you have the confidence to fight with so many forces at the same time? Don't forget what the Taoist master said before he left. More than 100 years ago, the Taoist master did say this, but now that the new era has begun, the Taoist master is no longer the genius of the Tao sect, but the supreme Taoist master of the Tao sect. Is that person's blood still useful to him? In my opinion, even if we can't contact the Taoist master, it's still feasible to trade that person's blood essence. Hua Gongbi snorted coldly. "It's not feasible." When the Taoist master instructed us to do this, his expression was extremely serious. Even after 100 years, as long as he doesn't say that we can use that person's blood essence, we absolutely can't trade it. Zheng Tai rubbed his head, feeling a headache coming on. He knew that things would be like this. Hua Gongbi's reverence for the Taoist master was already immersed in his bones. He actually treated the Taoist master's words more than 100 years ago as an imperial edict. If Chu Xiu didn't mention this matter today, Zheng Tai would have even forgotten the Taoist master's words. Perhaps even the Taoist master himself had forgotten about this matter. He didn't expect Hua Gongbi to remember it so clearly. At that moment, Bai Yuchen walked in from outside with a faint smile on his face. He said, "Fellow Taoists, I've said it before. Chu Xiu is very arrogant. What do you think? I was right, wasn't I? So you're here to watch a joke?" Hua Gongbi's expression was a little ugly. Although he and Bai Yuchen were both in the 8th heaven of the martial immortal realm, he had no intention of giving Bai Yuchen any face when he spoke. Bai Yuchen didn't get angry. He just shook his head and said, "No, the northern region's Tao sect is one family. Chu Xiu first wanted to kill my mysterious heaven realm, and then he rejected the 3 pure palaces' face. That's equivalent to looking down on my northern region's Tao sect. I know that the 3 pure palace is worried about their reputation and can't make a move, but my mysterious heaven realm doesn't care about reputation. As long as the two of you agree to stand behind my mysterious heaven realm at the crucial moment, I'll help the 3 pure palace solve this matter. Within 3 months, I'll definitely hand over the Myriad Tao Divine Palace's Tao repository." Hua Gongbi frowned and said, "What do you want?" Bai Yuchen smiled and said, "I'm not as greedy as Chu Xiu. My personal disciple has just stepped into the 3rd heaven. I just want to borrow the 3 pure palaces' supreme mystery Tao realm to help him break through the bottleneck of the 4th heaven. That's not too much, right?" Chapter 1421. Zheng Tai did not dare to offend Bai Yuchen. In fact, Hua Gongbi also looked down on people from the mysterious heaven realm. However, Chu Xiu's tough attitude just now had indeed angered Hua Gongbi. In order to catch up with the Taoist master, he had been in seclusion in the 3 Pristines Hall all year round and rarely went out. This also made his character less tactful and forbearing than Zheng Tai, and more aggressive and sharp. With the 3 Pristine Palaces' power, it had been a long time since anyone dared to go against the 3 Pristine Palace like Chu Xiu. Compared to Chu Xiu, Bai Yuchen's little tricks even seemed a little cute. "Alright, I'll leave this matter to you. I only want results." Bai Yuchen laughed and said, "Don't worry, brother Tsongyu. When has the mysterious heaven realm ever made a mistake?" After saying that, Bai Yuchen turned around and left. Zheng Tai sighed and said, "Don't forget what the Tao Venerate said before. The mysterious heaven realm is only kept to show the Daluotian that the three pristine palace is not that overbearing. In fact, the people of the mysterious heaven realm seem humble, but they have ulterior motives. They can be used but cannot be put in an important position. But now, you're using someone like Bai Yuchen to deal with Chu Xiu. I feel that this matter will not benefit either side. It's better to agree to Chu Xiu's conditions and trade Dugu Weiwei's blood essence. Don't forget what happened to the Sanskrit sect. Chu Xiu is not to be trifled with. The Tao Venerate also instructed us not to cause trouble before he returns." At this moment, Hu Gongbi suddenly revealed a smile on his face. "Brother Qi Cheng, am I such an impulsive person in your eyes?" Zheng Tai was stunned. "You're not impulsive? If I didn't stop you just now, you would have fought with Chu Xiu." Hu Gongbi said indifferently, "Although I haven't come into contact with Chu Xiu, since all of you said that Chu Xiu is difficult to deal with, then let him be. Therefore, the three pristine palace will not personally take action this time. Since the mysterious heaven realm wants to make a move, let them do it. Since it's done, then it's done. We've obtained the Taoist scriptures, and we haven't disobeyed the Tao Master's orders. If things don't work out, we'll be the peacemaker for once. When the mysterious heaven realm can't hold on any longer, we'll make a move to save the mysterious heaven realm, just like how you saved the sword sect of the world last time. Anyway, no matter what, our three pristines palace will not suffer a loss, right?" Zheng Tai could not help but feel a chill in his heart when he saw Hu Gongbi's appearance. He suddenly felt that Hu Gongbi was like a person, like a young Tao master. The young Taoist master was not like this. He was virtuous and respected, quiet and indifferent. It seemed that he did not care about the disputes in Jianghu, but in fact he secretly controlled the direction of the entire Jianghu. Part of Hu Gongbi's anger was because he was unhappy with Chu Xiu's tough attitude, but most of it was just an act for Bai Yuchen. Zheng Tai sighed and decided not to care about these things anymore. Although he was from the same generation as the Taoist master, he was actually much older than the Taoist master. There was no hope for the ninth heaven, so he did not want to fight for these things. It was no longer important to him whether the next Taoist master was Hu Gongbi, Su Guishan, or the talented Fang Yizhen. Forget it, it's good that you know what you're doing. I won't get involved. However, you'd better be careful. Be careful that Bai Yuchen will secretly play some tricks and bring our three pristines palace into the karma. At the same time, you have to be more careful of Chu Xiu. He's not easy to deal with, especially since this is the lower realm and not the Daluotian." After saying that, Zheng Tai turned around and left to go into seclusion. At this time, after Chu Xiu returned from the three pristines palace, he was not prepared to take the next step. The three pristines palace wanted to forcefully buy the Taoist scriptures, but Chu Xiu could not also forcefully buy the blood essence of Dugu Weiwei from the three pristines palace, right? Chu Xiu was not that arrogant. However, Chu Xiu was very puzzled. What did the Taoist master discover? He actually did not allow his subordinates to touch the blood essence of Dugu Weiwei. Since he could not figure it out, Chu Xiu did not think too much about it. There were still many things he could not figure out, such as the tortoiseshell divination he obtained from the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace. The divination of this martial immortal level divination grandmaster from 10,000 years ago was closely related to him. Or, it could be said that the divination grandmaster was even more closely related to the current era. Thus, Chu Xiu wanted to find someone to decipher the divination. When it came to divination, the first person Chu Xiu thought of was naturally Master Yuanji. However, since Master Yuanji joined Chu Xiu, he actually did not work as a divination grandmaster most of the time, but as a formation master. It was unknown if he still remembered what his old profession was. Chu Xiu went straight to the southern barbaric land and took Master Yuanji out. He threw the tortoiseshell to him and said, "I found this in a relic from 10,000 years ago. Take a look and see if you can decipher the meaning." Master Yuanji held the tortoiseshell in a trance. "How many years has it been?" Cult Master Chu finally found out that I was actually the #1 divine divination of the former Northern Yen. However, when he saw the words engraved on the tortoise shell and the various lines that seemed chaotic but contained some kind of mysterious law, Master Yuanji's face suddenly collapsed. He could not understand the things on it at all. Master Yuanji was previously known as the #1 divine divination of the Northern Yen, but in fact his title itself was extremely exaggerated. Among the 3 countries, the Eastern Qi Dao sects were the most powerful. 2 of the 3 major Dao sects were in Eastern Qi, and most of the small Taoist temples and so on were in Eastern Qi. Therefore, there were not many martial artists from Dao sects in the Northern Yen. In addition, divination was only a small branch of Dao sects, so one could imagine how exaggerated his title was. Although he later obtained the inheritance of the Skycry demon exalted and learned a lot of divination secret techniques, it was obvious that he was still a little far from the martial immortal realm divination grandmaster of the past. Master Yuanji said carefully, "Cult Master, the result of this divination is a little complicated. It's a little different from our 9 palaces and 8 trigrams divination method. Moreover, its core involves the power of law and is close to the changes of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the lines outlined on the tortoise shell are not Tao patterns, but changes of karma. Everyone has a different understanding of the changes of karma, so it's even more difficult to decipher it." Speak human. Chu Xiu glared at Master Yuanji. Master Yuanji had no choice but to answer honestly. Master Yuanji could only answer honestly, "I don't understand." Chu Xiu had already expected such a situation. He said in a deep voice, "You can't understand it, but it doesn't mean others can't. Who in the lower realm is proficient in divination? Find one." There were actually many Daoyuoshan who were proficient in divination, but most of them were from Dao sects, which was the 3 pure temple. Now that Chu Xiu had just fallen out with them, how could he ask the 3 pure temple for help? Master Yuanji said without even thinking, "The Great Light Temple's Karma Meditation Hall's first seat, Sujing, Sabodhi Monastery's Xiaomo." Chu Xiu looked at Master Yuanji. Had this guy been too bored recently that he was starting to get arrogant? Even if Chu Xiu could find the 2 he mentioned, they would probably kill themselves on the spot instead of helping Chu Xiu. Seeing Chu Xiu's unfriendly gaze, Master Yuanji reacted and hurriedly said, "Sect Master, please forgive me. Let me think about it." A moment later, Master Yuanji suddenly said, "I got it. I got it. Green Celestial Mountain's perfected Master Xuanqing is proficient in Dao scriptures and has a deep understanding of divination. Although I've only interacted with him once, I'm ashamed of my inferiority. I dare say that his understanding of Dao techniques is not inferior to Lu Changlu, Ling Yunzi, or even the current powerhouses of the lower realm like the old Celestial Master." After saying that, Master Yuanji added, "Strictly speaking, it's only about Dao techniques. No one knows how good his martial arts are. Not many people in the lower realm have seen him fight." Chu Xiu knocked his head. Perfected Master Xuanqing? Why did he find the name familiar? Why haven't I heard of this name? What's his background? Master Yuanji said, "It's normal that you haven't heard of him because he's not famous." Perfected Master Xuanqing was an itinerant cultivator and became a Taoist priest halfway through his life. It's said that he had a rough life before he became a monk. He was chased out by his parents, his wife ran away with someone else, and his son didn't seem to be his. He went through many twists and turns and ended up in a Taoist temple to become a Taoist priest. From then on, he traveled to all the Taoist temples in Eastern Qi, Western Chu, Northern Yen, and even overseas, exchanging Dao techniques with people. They only talked about Dao techniques and not martial arts. That's when I got to know him. When I met him, he had almost mastered Dao techniques. Other than finding a small Taoist temple to preach Dao techniques in his free time, he didn't leave any impression on the pugilistic world. So, not to mention that you haven't heard of him, I'm afraid even Wind Sweeping Tower doesn't have any information about him." After hearing Master Yuanji's words, a figure popped up in Chu Xiu's mind. It was when he was still young and competing with others on the Longhu leaderboard. In Eastern Qi, he met an old Taoist priest who was explaining the understanding of the 3 flowers at one's prominence and the 5 Qi's unifications. Although it was not a technique, it was of great help to Chu Xiu. It could be said that the old Taoist priest had indirectly helped him break through. Chu Xiu stretched out his hand and drew a line in the air. The rules distorted and turned into mist, and the figure of perfected Master Xuanqing from his memory appeared. Are you talking about this person? Master Yuanji hurriedly nodded and said, That's him. Cult Master, you know perfected Master Xuanqing too? An unfathomable smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face as he said, I've met him before. I even have some karmic ties with him. He can be considered an old friend. Do you know where he is now? I do. Perfected Master Xuanqing has been cultivating in seclusion on Green Deity Mountain for many years. He rarely goes to preach Tao anymore. Chu Xiu waved his hand and said, Get Tanya to follow you to Green Deity Mountain and invite Perfected Master Xuanqing out. Be more polite. Master Yuanji nodded and brought Tanya to invite Perfected Master Xuanqing. However, Chu Xiu stroked his chin, feeling that it was a little strange. Meeting an old friend could be considered a kind of fate. I wonder if Perfected Master Xuanqing still remembers me. Chapter 1422. Suaxian Mountain was located in a forest in the north of Dongqi. Although its name was pleasing to the ear, it was not a place of great feng shui. It was just an ordinary mountain. A few years ago, an old Taoist brought a dozen young Taoists here. They built a Taoist temple on the mountain and planted some saplings. They also treated the people in the villages around Green Immortal Mountain for free. Only then did this small mountain gain some liveliness. At the peak of Green Immortal Mountain was a simple Taoist temple made of bricks. Reverend Xianqing wore a loose white linen Taoist robe. He held a Taoist scripture in his left hand and a pot of tea in his right. He sat at the entrance of the Taoist temple and started to instruct the young Taoists on the day's work. Changning, today, you will be the abbot of the Taoist temple. You will be in charge of interpreting the divination sticks for the pilgrims who come and go. Remember, most people only want to hear good words and not bad words. If you get any bad divination sticks, remember to be tactful with your words. Changjing, bring a few brothers to Sanli village. Many people in the village have been sick recently. It should be the plague. Bring some medicine and come back early. Also, Shaolu, the tri-origin vermilion fruits in the backyard need to be taken care of. There should be some ripe ones. After picking them, gather some ingredients for the spirit gathering pill and refine it. If you are not confident in refining it, go find your third brother for help. A 10-year-old Taoist nodded and suddenly asked in confusion, Master, is someone going to Foundation establishment? Reverend Xianqing shook his head and said, No, it's the grandson of the Li village's old village chief. He was born weak and sickly. The last time I saw him, he probably won't live for more than 3 months. Refine a spirit-gathering pill for him. After consuming it, he will be reborn. As for what he looks like in the end, that will depend on his luck. Reverend Xianqing turned to the other disciples and said, The rest of you, if you have nothing to do, go clean the herb garden in the backyard or go memorize the Taoist scriptures. There will be an exam in a month. If you can't pass, you will be punished. At this moment, many black-clothed martial artists walked up Green Immortal Mountain. All of them had a murderous aura. The leader was a ferocious-looking one-eyed brawny man. He carried a blood-colored ghost head blade as he swaggered over and said, Do you know who I am? When the surrounding Taoist priests saw this, their eyes revealed fear. Only perfected Xuanqing stood out and shook his head. I don't know. The burly man laughed and said, You don't know? Today, I will let you know. I am the leader of Black Wind Ridge Blood Wolf Stronghold. People call me Crazy Killing Blood Wolf, Qinguang. I heard that there's a tri-origin vermilion fruit tree on this Green Immortal Mountain. There aren't many warriors in your Taoist temple, so what's the use of raising this kind of treasure? I've taken a fancy to this thing and I'm too lazy to rob you poor Taoist priests. I'll give you 100 taels of silver to sell the ternary scarlet fruit tree to me and use the silver to buy some meat to eat. Isn't that better than guarding that broken tree that you can't use? Anger appeared in the eyes of the surrounding young Taoist priests. What was the difference between this and robbery? The tri-origin vermilion fruit tree was a spirit herb used to refine pills. It was not something that could be bought with ordinary money. In their opinion, 100 taels of silver was simply robbery. Perfected Xuanqing sighed and said, although the Triorigin vermilion fruit tree is a spirit herb, it's really useless to you guys. What the Triorigin vermilion fruit contains is only the purest essence energy, so it's used to refine basic foundation-building spirit pills. For ordinary people, such a spirit pill can cleanse the marrow and remove the hair, but for martial artists like you, it's not as useful as meditating for a day. Moreover, the Tri-Origin vermilion fruit tree is very delicate. Only by taking good care of it can it continue to bear fruit. If you guys keep it, I'm afraid it will wither in less than a month. That Chen Guang sneered, raised the ghost head saber in his hand and pointed at Taoist Xuanqing, saying fiercely, less nonsense. Who cares if it's useful or not, even if I have to eat it like a fruit, I'm going to take this Tri-Origin vermilion fruit tree today. If you poor Taoist priests don't hand it over, then don't blame this saber for recognizing the tree and not the person. Taoist Xuanqing shook his head and sighed. He once swore that he would not make a move. But not making a move didn't mean that he would be trampled on, and it didn't mean that he couldn't defend. It was just that after such a scene today, he was afraid that the peaceful days that he had just enjoyed for a few years would not be able to continue. At this moment, a sharp scream suddenly came, and a powerful force pierced through the void. Almost at the moment that the scream appeared, the ghost head saber in Qin Guang's hand had already shattered. It wasn't torn by any hidden weapon, but by pure qi energy. In mid-air, more than 10 martial artists came over and slowly landed. Each of them had an extremely powerful aura, and the young man who led the group had even reached the level of attracting the power of heaven and earth around him. Master Yuanji walked out from behind Tangya and smiled at Taoist Xuanqing, saying, Taoist Xuanqing, I haven't seen you for many years. How have you been? Taoist Xuanqing sighed again. In fact, it was very good just now. Even if he had to leave Green Immortal Mountain because of an accident, it was also good. But now that he saw Master Yuanji coming with Tangya and the others, he suddenly felt a little bad. Tangya walked over with a smile on his face. He cupped his fists towards Perfected Xuanqing and said respectfully, Kunlun Holy Cult's subordinate, Blood Fang Hall's Hall Master, Tangya, is under the cult master's orders to invite Perfected Xuanqing to the Holy Cult for a meeting. After speaking, Tangya also glanced at Qin Guang and said faintly, Taoist Xuanqing, do you want this guy to live or die? Or should I say, live a life worse than death? My holy cult has many means, and I'm sure that Taoist Xuanqing can vent his anger and make you satisfied. Hearing Tangya's words, Qin Guang's vision darkened, and he almost fainted. He was just a lowly bandit, but even if he was lowly, he knew what walking in the air represented. He also knew what the Kunlun devil cult represented. Thinking of this, Qin Guang immediately threw away the ghost head saber in his hand and walked in front of Taoist Xuanqing and Tangya with his head held high. Just when his men thought that he would die passionately, Qin Guang knelt straight on the ground with a plop, shouting with tears and snot, Hero, please spare my life. Tangya looked at him with a faint smile. I'm not a hero. Whether I can spare you or not, it still depends on Taoist Xuanqing. Taoist Xuanqing sighed and waved his hand. Let's go. Don't be a bandit anymore. With the arrival of the new era, this will be a flourishing age of martial arts. Joining any sect will be better than being a bandit. Qin Guang kowtowed like pounding garlic and immediately left with his men. Taoist Xuanqing, can we go now? Tangya looked at Taoist Xuanqing. Taoist Xuanqing laughed and said, looking at Hall Master Tang's appearance, I can't refuse. Tangya said with a serious face, Taoist Xuanqing can just call my name because if Hall Master Tang calls me that, it will make me sound a bit feminine. Moreover, my saint sect has always convinced people with virtue. How can we do that kind of thing to force people? It's just that my sect master and Taoist Xuanqing are old friends. At this time, he just wants to meet and reminisce about the old days. Taoist Xuanqing should agree, right? Master Yuanji on the side patted his head with a helpless look. Previously, Chu Xiu told Tangya to be polite, but it seemed that Tangya misunderstood the meaning. He was indeed very polite now, but you have a fake smile on your face. Who would believe that you didn't force him? Chu Xiu asked Tangya to be polite, not to be polite. Fortunately, Taoist Xuanqing didn't get angry. He just shook his head and smiled bitterly. If I knew this, I should have done a divination for myself this morning. Everyone, please wait for a while. I will arrange it and go with you. After giving a few instructions to his disciples, Taoist Xuanqing took a step forward. The astral wind and clouds condensed under his feet, dragging him forward. Tanya's eyes narrowed suddenly. This Taoist Xuanqing is actually a martial immortal. A first heaven martial artist. Even Master Yuanji was incomparably shocked. Although he could guess that Taoist Xuanqing's strength was extraordinary, he didn't expect him to be a martial immortal. Seeing their expressions, Taoist Xuanqing said, "Thanks to the essence Qi wave, when I was reciting Taoist scriptures a few days ago, I suddenly had an epiphany and stepped into the martial immortal realm just like that. However, the two of you don't have to be surprised. I'm not very useful as a martial immortal. I'm not proficient in the path of killing. Not to mention divine powers, I don't even know many martial techniques. I don't deserve the title of martial immortal." Although Taoist Xuanqing said that a martial immortal was a martial immortal, Tanya was also glad that he was very polite just now. Otherwise, the result would be really terrible. After bringing Taoist Xuanqing back to the southern barbaric Kunlun devil cult's branch palace, Chu Xiu actually personally welcomed them at the door. Seeing Taoist Xuanqing and matching him with the person in his memory, Chu Xiu said with a smile on his face, "Taoist Xuanqing, do you still recognize me? Speaking of which, Taoist Xuanqing is half a teacher to me. Back then, when I stepped into the 3 flowers at one's prominence and the 5 Qis unifications, it was all thanks to your guidance." Taoist Xuanqing said softly, "Cult Master Chu, you must be joking. Countless people have listened to this humble Taoist teachings. However, only you, Cult Master Chu, have gained something. The credit does not belong to this humble Taoist. Rather, it belongs to you, Cult Master Chu, who possesses astonishing talent." Looking at Chu Xiu, whose aura was so strong that he didn't dare to probe him, Taoist Xuanqing couldn't help but sigh. Taoist Xuanqing recognized Chu Xiu. Or rather, he had never forgotten Chu Xiu. Back then, in front of Eastern Qi's White Cloud Monastery, Taoist Xuanqing had determined that the youth had a deep demonic nature. In the future, he would probably become a great demon that would bring disaster to the world. Whether or not Chu Xiu brought disaster to the world was hard to say. However, he had undoubtedly become a great demon with a great reputation in the world. Under the overwhelming demonic flames, other than the 3 Pure Palace Hall and a few other sects, who would dare to disregard the demon master's might? Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "Taoist Xuanqing, since I've called you here, I won't waste my breath with you. The reason I'm looking for you is because I want you to help me decipher a piece of tortoiseshell for divination. A piece of tortoiseshell from 10,000 years ago. After that, whatever you want, as long as my holy church is able to take it out, Taoist Xuanqing can choose." Chapter 1423. Reverend Xianqing did not want to deal with Chu Xiu. To be more precise, he did not want to deal with anyone from the pugilistic world. Unfortunately, things never went as one wished in this world. It was not fate that he was found by Chu Xiu. It was karma. Perhaps it was karma that was formed when Chu Xiu listened to his sermon. Looking at Chu Xiu's expression, Reverend Xianqing knew that he could not refuse. Therefore, Reverend Xianqing could only say, "Cult Master Chu, I can help you decipher the divination results. However, divination involves the mysteries of heaven, and the mysteries of heaven are constantly changing. Now that 10,000 years have passed, I do not have absolute confidence that I can decipher any mysteries of heaven. Another thing is that the new era has descended, but I do not want to interfere with the pugilistic world's conflicts. I am a Taoist priest, not a martial artist. I hope that Cult Master Chu can use the power of the Kunlun devil cult to help me hide my tracks and not be disturbed by others." Reverend Xianqing's words were sincere. Chu Xiu could tell that too. If the other party had any requests or desires, Chu Xiu would use all sorts of methods to make this martial immortal divination master stay. However, since the other party had made up his mind, Chu Xiu did not want to make things difficult for him in such a place. After handing the tortoise shell to Reverend Xiancheng, Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "I agree to your wish, Reverend. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, you can go to any of the holy cult's halls in the pugilistic world. The holy cult will help you." "Thank you, Cult Master Chu." Reverend Xiancheng took the tortoise shell and looked at the divination results as well as the lines of runes. He immediately frowned. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Reverend Xiancheng took out an 8 trigrams plate. He formed hand seals and calculated continuously. At the same time, the 8 trigrams plate was spinning continuously. The professional feeling he gave off was indeed much better than a fake like Master Yuanji. After a long while, the 8 trigram in Taoist Xiancheng's hands spun faster and faster, and a strange Taoist connotation floated around him. In his hazy state, sage Xiancheng seemed to see countless images surging into his mind. Instantly, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Chu Xiu took out a bottle of pills and placed it in front of Reverend Xiancheng, asking, "Reverend, did something happen to you? If you can't deduce anything, then don't force yourself." Perfected Xuanqing shook his head and said, "Cult Master Chu, I saw something about you." Chu Xiu's expression suddenly changed. Sure enough, the result of the divination was really on him. What did Taoist Xianqing see? Master Yuanji looked at Chu Xiu, wanting to say something but hesitating. He felt that he shouldn't listen to these things. The more he knew, the more dangerous it would be. If he heard something he shouldn't, would the cult master kill him to silence him? Although Master Yuanji knew that Chu Xiu most likely wouldn't do that, he still panicked. Glancing at Master Yuanji, who was fidgeting, Chu Xiu said calmly, "Just listen, it's fine." In the past, Master Yuanji had divined about Chu Xiu. Although he ended up suffering a terrible backlash, he had managed to pry into some of Chu Xiu's true secrets. Therefore, it didn't matter if he heard it now. Furthermore, with Chu Xiu's current strength and status, it wouldn't be a big deal even if outsiders found out that he was Dugu Weiwei's Earth Soul. In any case, he would release the heavenly soul and cause a chaotic battle. He didn't reveal his identity because there was no need. After all, Chu Xiu's greatest enemy had never been the Daluotian people, but the life souls hidden in netherworld heaven. Taoist Master Xianqing heaved a long sigh of relief, and then he said, "Lord Chu, the divination results on this tortoise shell actually have nothing to do with you. It's entirely the work of that existence from 10,000 years ago. He wanted to deduce the path of survival after the Great Calamity, so he exhausted all his energy and vitality to deduce a path of survival. However, the results seemed to be different from what he had deduced. He had deduced a way out, but it wasn't a way out for his generation, but a way out for the calamity 10,000 years later. 10,000 years later will be the present, and the key point is you, Cult Master Chu. Cult Master Chu, you're the tribulation taker." Master Yuanji looked at Chu Xiu in shock. He was also proficient in divination, so he naturally knew what the so-called tribulation taker meant. It could be said that Chu Xiu himself was the key person who would decide the fate of this era, millions of lives, and the fate of the calamity. Cult Master Chu was indeed Cult Master Chu. Even if his current strength was not as strong as the Taoist Master, the Brahmin Sex Master, and the other powerhouses of the ninth heaven, his importance was higher than the two. It could even be said that if Chu Xiu died now, it would affect the karmic changes of this era. Chu Xiu didn't panic at all. It should be said that he had already expected this. He didn't see where the calamity was, but netherworld heaven, where the life souls were, was a key. The 3 souls of heaven, earth, and man, or rather, the world after 10,000 years was not in the hands of the Taoist Master and the others, but in the hands of the 3 souls. "What else did you see, Master Xianqing?" Master Xianqing said in a deep voice, "I saw 3 Cult Master Chus." And the result? The 3 Cult Master Chus figures stood between heaven and earth, yin and yang. It seemed to be the end of everything, but also the beginning. But that wasn't the end. There was only one tribulation taker, but now there are 3. Chu Xiu frowned slightly. Then did the divination show which tribulation taker will be in the end? Master Xianqing smiled bitterly. No, So it's an incomplete divination. The divination master from 10,000 years ago predicted the scene of the tribulation taker. I wanted to predict the result further, but you saw it, Cult Master Chu, and it backfired. I can't see through these three figures. All three of them seem real, but all seem fake at the same time. The final result is changing at any time. No one knows if it's real or fake until the last step. Master Xiancheng's words could be interpreted as nonsense, but Chu Xiu didn't think so. He was also a cultured person. In his previous life, there was a person named Schrödinger, so he must have had a lot in common with him. However, this information was enough for Chu Xiu. At least he could prove one thing. Tianhun didn't tell him the truth, or the truth that Tianhun knew wasn't the real truth. If the life spirit represented Dugu Weiwei, then only one of the three figures was real. Only the life spirit represented the tribulation taker, the real Dugu Weiwei. If Master Xiancheng's divination was correct, then all three figures could be real or fake. Didn't that mean that any of the three souls could become Dugu Weiwei, and not just the life spirit? Chu Xiu kept that guess in his heart. He cupped his hands at Master Xiancheng and said, "Thank you for dispelling my doubts." After saying that, Chu Xiu ordered Grandmaster Yuanji to send Master Xiancheng off. He had a contemplative expression on his face. It was rare that he didn't immediately enter seclusion. Instead, he pondered. In the Celestial Master's mansion on Mount Longhu, the old Celestial Master was happily examining the secret Taoist techniques he obtained from the Celestial Palace of the Myriad Taos. The thunder of the Celestial Master's mansion was very powerful. 10,000 years ago, the Celestial Master's mansion was also a large sect that produced a martial immortal. Even now, the thunder of the Celestial Master's mansion was not outdated and could still be cultivated. However, no one would complain about having too many cultivation techniques. Furthermore, cultivation techniques didn't mean they were good or strong. As people improved, so did cultivation techniques. The ambitious large sects in the past would not cultivate the cultivation techniques passed down by their ancestors. Instead, they would constantly fill in their own understanding during the process of cultivation. They would constantly fix the flaws of the previous generation until they were complete. Therefore, the cultivation techniques of the other large Taoist sects could be used to improve the Celestial Master's mansion. They could help them perfect the Celestial Master's cultivation techniques. At that moment, there was a sudden noise from below the Celestial Master's mansion. It seemed to be mixed with the fluctuation of earth energy. The old Celestial Master frowned slightly. A disciple ran up from the foot of the mountain and shouted with grief and indignation, "Old Celestial Master, this is bad. The mysterious heaven realm has come and destroyed all the formations of the Celestial Master's mansion." The old Celestial Master was stunned when he heard that. He couldn't believe that the mysterious heaven realm would come looking for trouble with him. They were all from the Taoist lineage. Compared to other sects, the Taoist lineage still cared about their reputation. Most importantly, when the Tao Master had descended to the lower realm, the three pristine temple had promised them that the Daoyuotian Taoist sects would not come looking for trouble in the lower realm. The Taoist sects of the two realms were of the same lineage. They should naturally be close to each other after descending to the lower realm. Although the old Celestial Master wasn't naive enough to believe the three pristine temples' words, he had been in charge of the Celestial Master's mansion for so many years. Large sects of this level would care about their reputation. Even if it was for the sake of their reputation, as long as the existence of the Celestial Master's mansion did not threaten the other party should not have made a move. Now, the mysterious heaven realm had come knocking on their door. Bai Yuchen led a group of mysterious heaven realm disciples into the Celestial Master's mansion leisurely. He looked around and said, "Tiskiske, the scenery is pretty good. Celestial Master Zhang, why don't we make a deal and swap sects?" All the disciples of the Celestial Master's mansion looked furious. The sect's land was passed down by their ancestors. Even if an outsider were to behave atrociously here, they would fight to the death to kill him. Now, Bai Yuchen actually said in front of them that he wanted their sections. This was simply deliberate humiliation. Although the old Celestial Master was also furious, his expression did not change. he said coldly. What is Sect Master by trying to do by coming to my Celestial Master's mansion? Is it just to show off your strength? Sect Master by, there's no need to show off. My Celestial Master's mansion is no match for the mysterious heaven realm, okay? Bai Yuchen said indifferently, you're admitting defeat so quickly? This isn't the style of your Celestial Master's mansion. Weren't you very arrogant in the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace back then? A great Taoist sect actually allied with the demonic Dao. Now I'll fulfill your wish. From today onwards, Celestial Master's mansion will be expelled from the Taoist lineage. Destroy the statue and seal the incense to serve as a warning to others. Chapter 1424. Bai Yuchen's words made the old Celestial Master, who had always been calm and self-restrained, completely lose control of his anger. Although the Celestial Master Abode had not always been the leader of the lower realms Dao sects, it had always been one of the top 3 Dao sections. Since when did the mysterious heaven realm have the right to expel them from the Dao sects? Furthermore, they even wanted to destroy the Celestial Master Abode's statue and forbid incense offerings. They were simply trying to destroy the Celestial Master Abode's orthodoxy and force them to their deaths. Seeing that all the Celestial Master Abode's cultivators looked like they were about to devour someone, Bai Yuchen said with a faint smile, Sect Master Jiang, are you very angry now? The old Celestial Master's expression darkened. Shouldn't I be angry? Bai Yuchen's expression suddenly changed, becoming extremely cold. Sect Master Jiang, when you teamed up with Chu Xiu to steal my Dao scripture and went against the mysterious heaven realm, how could you not consider whether I would be angry or not? Since the Celestial Master Abode doesn't regard yourself as a member of the Dao sects, why should I give you face? The old Celestial Master immediately understood what was going on. The other party was actually after Chu Xiu, and he had just suffered an undeserved calamity. Of course, it could not be said that the Celestial Master Abode was innocent. After all, they had also obtained a lot of cultivation techniques from the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, so they naturally had to bear the karma. Sect Master Bai, have you forgotten what the 3 pristine palace said before coming to the lower realm? Bai Yuchen said indifferently, of course I haven't forgotten, but since the Celestial Master Abode has chosen to stand on the side of the Demon Dao and go against the Dao sects, you and I are no longer on the same side. If you're not convinced, you can go to the 3 pristine palace and complain about me. Anyway, I'm going to seal the incense offerings of the Celestial Master Abode today. It's very simple to solve the problem. Go find Chu Xiu and take back the Dao scripture of the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace. With that, Bai Yuchen waved his hand, and immediately, a mysterious heaven realm disciple stepped forward to destroy the Celestial Master Abode's statue. Zhang Qingzhen's body released a thunderous halo. He was about to make a move, but the old Celestial Master stopped him. No one move. The old Celestial Master was very tolerant. In the face of such a humiliating act, he actually suppressed the entire Celestial Master Manor and watched as the other party destroyed the statue and set up an array at the entrance of Mount Longhu, sealing off the mountain path and preventing pilgrims from climbing the mountain. After living for 500 years, the old Celestial Master still couldn't get over certain things. However, at the very least, he knew that only by living could one have a future. If one died, then there would be nothing left. He had already guessed Bai Yuchen's objective. He wanted to rely on him to force Chu Xiu to hand over the Taoist scriptures. Didn't you, Chu Xiu, claim to be on good terms with the Taoist Master's mansion and ally with them? Well, I can't deal with you, Chu Xiu, but I can deal with the Taoist Master's mansion, right? Under such pressure, the Celestial Master Mansion would definitely go to Chu Xiu for help. If Chu Xiu did not help, he would lose his reputation. If he helped, he would lose the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace's Dao cannons. Of course, Chu Xiu could also choose to use force, but the mysterious heaven realm was not weak. With the old Celestial Master's experience, he had already guessed the mysterious heaven realm's plan in an instant. He could not help but smile bitterly in his heart. Bai Yuchen's methods were very despicable. As an 8th-level martial immortal, He did not dare to directly snatch things from Chu Xiu's hands. Instead, he deliberately targeted the Celestial Master Mansion and used such methods. But so what if he knew? He was not as strong as him, so he could only endure. After the people from the mysterious heaven realm completely destroyed all the statues in the Celestial Master Mansion, Bai Yuchen looked at the old Celestial Master with a trace of surprise. Isn't this old fellow a little too tolerant? Things have already reached such an extent, yet he still hasn't made a move. Originally, Bai Yuchen had planned to kill a few people to establish his might, but now that no one jumped out, it seemed a little awkward for him to kill directly. Therefore, Bai Yuchen only sneered and waved his hand, swaggering away with the people from the mysterious heaven realm. After the people from the mysterious heaven realm left, the people from the Celestial Master Mansion began to curse. Some even cried, "Old Celestial Master! They are such bullies! When has the Celestial Master Mansion ever suffered such grievances? So what if they're from a Daluotian sect? Won't one stab leave 2 holes in them? At most, we'll fight them." After being the leader of the Dao sects for so many years, the disciples of the Celestial Master Mansion had always been magnanimous and reserved. Now that they were able to say such words, one could imagine just how furious they were. The old Celestial Master snorted. 2 holes in them with 1 stab? Wake up. Do you think the mysterious heaven realm will give us a chance to stab them? What should we do then? Just endure it? The old Celestial Master sighed. I'll go to the 3 Pure Temple to uphold justice. If that doesn't work, we'll have to go to the Cult Master Chu. In fact, the old Celestial Master already had a vague idea. If the mysterious heaven realm dared to cause trouble so brazenly and disregarded the rules that had been set, they were most likely supported by the 3 Pure Temple. It would be pointless for him to go there. However, the old Celestial Master still wanted to give it a try. He did not want to go to Chu Xiu unless it was absolutely necessary. Bai Yuchen did not understand Chu Xiu. He thought that Chu Xiu was too simple. He thought that Chu Xiu would only choose to compromise or not compromise, but in fact, Chu Xiu would only choose the third option. The old Celestial Master knew Chu Xiu very well. Chu Xiu would never hand over the Dao scripture of the myriad Dao Divine Palace. All these years, no one had been able to snatch anything from Chu Xiu. Therefore, once the old Celestial Master went to beg Chu Xiu, the consequences were almost set in stone. By luring the Kunlun Devil cult into West Chu, the Celestial Master abode would be completely tied to the Kunlun Devil cult's chariot. The West Chu martial world would also be filled with bloodshed. The old Celestial Master did not reject Chu Xiu, but he did not want the Celestial Master abode to be tainted by the karma of the West Chu martial world. The old Celestial Master had been waiting in front of the 3 Pure Temple for 2 hours. Fang Yizhen's personality was more lively, unlike Su Greishan, who could not even fart after a few blows. Therefore, he was the one who received people. Seeing the old Celestial Master standing there, Fang Yizhen could not help but persuade him. Old Celestial Master, go back. The Patriarch and the others are all in seclusion. They won't see you. Fang Yizhen felt a little ashamed when he said that. He knew what was going on with the 3 Pure Temple. The things that the mysterious heaven realm did were instructed by the 3 Pure Temple, so how could they come to see the old Celestial Master? Fang Yizhen looked at the old man, who was more than 500 years old and was even older than the martial immortals in the 3 Pure Temple, waiting here alone. His appearance made Fang Yizhen feel a little sad. He did not agree with the 3 Pure Temple's way of doing things. If they wanted the Taoist scriptures in Chu Xiu's hands, they could have just taken them by force and fought with them. It was better to be domineering than to use underhanded tricks like this behind his back. Fang Yizhen felt that it was not the 3 Pure Temple's style. The old Celestial Master smiled bitterly. Do you not want to see me, or do you not want to see me? Is the promise made by the 3 Pristine's palace in the past really not counted now? Fang Yizhen was silent. Although he was a martial immortal, he was still a junior disciple of the 3 Pure Temple. He had no right to speak on such matters. The old Celestial Master already knew everything when he saw Fang Yizhen's expression. Sigh. With a sigh, The old celestial master cupped his hands at Feng Yizhen and said, "In that case, please tell the spiritual masters of the three pure temple that the celestial master mansion just wants justice." After saying that, the old celestial master left in a desolate manner. After leaving the three pure temple, Zhang Qingzhen and the others were waiting outside. Seeing the old celestial master's appearance, they knew the outcome of this trip. Zhang Qingzhen said in a deep voice, "Old celestial master, what should we do now?" The old celestial master's previously desolate and stooped figure straightened up. He no longer had the submissive look on his face. Instead, there was a hint of killing intent. "Since the three pure temple can't give us justice, we will find it ourselves. Go to Kunlun and lead the devil cult into West Chu." So what if the Kunlun devil cult dominates the world? Even the Kunlun devil cult did not bully me like this in the past 500 years. No one had seen the old celestial master like this for a long time. Since the situation of the world was completely stabilized hundreds of years ago, the old celestial master also faintly had the title of the first person in the lower realm. He began to cultivate in seclusion in Longhu Mountain, drifting indifferently from the world. Except for Taoist Qing, who had been following the old celestial master, the disciples of the celestial master mansion present had never seen the fierce appearance that he showed now. In the Nanman branch of the Kunlun devil cult, Chu Xiu was still thinking about the result of spiritual master Xuanqing's divination. At this time, a disciple of the Kunlun devil cult came to report that the old celestial master had come to visit, which made Chu Xiu suddenly stunned. He could think of anyone coming, but the old celestial master, who would hardly leave the back mountain of the celestial master mansion if it was not necessary, actually took the initiative to come to the Nanman to find him? Go and invite him in. As soon as the old celestial master came in, he directly bowed to Chu Xiu and said in a deep voice, "Cult Master Chu, my celestial master mansion is willing to pay any price to invite the Kunlun devil cult to enter West Chu and uphold justice for my celestial master mansion." Chu Xiu quickly helped the old celestial master up and asked in confusion, "Old celestial master, why are you doing this? The strongest in West Chu is the Dao lineage. Why are you still looking for me to uphold justice?" The old celestial master smiled bitterly and told Chu Xiu what had happened. Of course, the old celestial master was very shrewd. He would not say his speculation that the mysterious heaven realm was mainly targeting Chu Xiu. That would make it seem like he was kidnapping Chu Xiu. Chu Xiu was not stupid. As long as he said all these, Chu Xiu would naturally understand the key point. Sure enough, a cold look appeared in Chu Xiu's eyes after he heard that. He really didn't expect that a force at the level of the Three Pristines Temple would play such underhanded tricks. Regardless of whether the mysterious heaven realm was the one who initiated it or the Three Pristine Temple, it was obvious that the Three Pristine Temple knew about it and agreed to it. Therefore, what he would have to face next might not just be the mysterious heaven realm, but the Three Pristine Temple. Chu Xiu had no reason to reject this matter. Not only was the mysterious heaven realm coming for him, but it was also an opportunity to openly interfere with West Chu's destiny. Among the three kingdoms, the northern Yan kingdom was already following the lead of the Kunlun devil cult, and the eastern Chi's Chu Xiu had also interfered with a portion of the destiny. Together with West Chu, more than half of the destiny of the entire lower realm was already in his hands. A smile appeared on Chu Xiu's face at the thought of this. "Don't worry, Celestial Master. The cultivators of the lower realm are not so easily bullied. The Holy Church will help you seek justice." Chapter 1425. The old Celestial Master had never been easy to deal with. It was impossible for a kind old man to lead the rise of the Celestial Master Mansion and become the leader of the Taoist sects after Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji went to the Daluotian 500 years ago, when there was no order in the pugilistic world. In fact, the era after the disappearance of Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji was more chaotic than the era when the Kunlun devil cult dominated the world. When the Kunlun devil cult dominated the pugilistic world, it was only chaotic in the early stages. However, not everyone in the Kunlun devil cult was a homicidal maniac. As long as you followed the rules of the Kunlun devil cult, you would be fine. Therefore, the pugilistic world was chaotic at that time, with the Kunlun devil cult controlling everything. After the disappearance of Dugu Weiwei and Ning Xuanji, the pugilistic world attacked the devil cult. That was when the world was in chaos. At that time, the previous celestial master had died, and it was the time when the old celestial master took over the power of the celestial master mansion. At that time, the martial artists did not feel that the old celestial master was kind. Therefore, when he heard Chu Xiu agree, the old celestial master immediately said in a deep voice, "Cult Master Chu, what are you going to do? The celestial master mansion will cooperate fully." Chu Xiu thought about it and said, "It's easy to deal with the mysterious heaven realm, but we have to consider the 3 pure temple behind them. Therefore, we have to do our best to make the matter bigger. The bigger the better." The old celestial master said coldly, "Is it like what you did in Eastern Qi? That's easy. This old man still has some power in West Chu. I don't need to go to every force like you did in Eastern Qi, Cult Master Chu. I can guarantee that as long as the Celestial Master Mansion opens its mouth, 80% of the forces in West Chu's pugilistic world will rise up. As for the other 20%, the moon-worshipping cult probably doesn't like the Daluotian martial artists either. Cult Master Chu, if you come with me to the moon-worshipping cult, you will have a 90% chance of convincing Yi Shaonan. My Celestial Master Mansion and the moon-worshipping cult are both West Chu's national religions. If our 2 sects make a move, the West Chu imperial court will follow. When the time comes, we will besiege the mysterious heaven realm and change the color of West Chu." Chu Xiu was stunned by the old heavenly master's words. He had never seen the old celestial master being so radical. He had never seen the old celestial master so with such radical actions. A series of plans were arranged. He was even more nimble than when he was in Eastern Qi. After all, Chu Xiu was not a warrior of Eastern Qi. He only had strength, not prestige. If the old celestial master acted according to his plan, he would be able to change the color of West Chu's face in an instant. Chu Xiu coughed and said, "I'm not talking about this. I'll just use the same plan once. This time, I'm not only targeting the mysterious heaven realm, but I'm also targeting the 3 pure temples so that they won't dare to look down on the martial arts world of the lower realm. I didn't want to make a move against the Sanskrit cult, but this time, if we don't see some blood, it will be a waste of our plan. Old Celestial Master, West Chu is too small. Even if we do as you said and bring everyone here, it will be useless. Those sects and the West Chu imperial court are too weak. Why don't we look at the long term?" The old celestial master's expression changed. "For example?" Chu Xiu narrowed his eyes and said, "For example, Northern Yen and Eastern Qi. With my order, the Northern Yen martial artists will gather, and the Kunlun devil cult will also gather in West Chu. I can influence the Eastern Qi martial artists, but you, old celestial master, are more influential. If you show up, the real martial arts cult and the Chunyang Dao sect will not give you face. And I heard that you seem to be friends with the Ying family's old ancestor. These people will gather in West Chu. If they do, they will let the Daluotian know the power of the martial artists in the mortal world. When we just came to the mortal world, they said that we are of the same origin, but what about their hearts? They still don't take us seriously. Contempt and prejudice are always in their hearts and eyes. Respect and respect are not earned with words, but with fists." The old celestial master looked at Chu Xiu in shock. Just now, he was talking about the same as what Chu Xiu did in Eastern Qi. He was talking about power, betting that the other party would retreat for the sake of reputation. But the kind of trouble Chu Xiu talked about was actually huge. Although he did not say it explicitly, Chu Xiu's actions showed that he wanted to destroy the mysterious heaven realm. However, Chu Xiu's words made the old celestial master, who had long been calm and collected, feel his blood boiling. Respect and respect were never earned with words, but with fists and knives. Just like when the Daluotian came to the mortal world, he was ignored in the 3 Pristines temple for more than 2 hours. And now, the mysterious heaven realm did not take the celestial master abode seriously. However, the old celestial master was experienced and prudent, so he still had some rationality. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, the old celestial master said in a deep voice, "You can deal with the mysterious heaven realm, and you can suppress by Yuchen in the myriad Tao divine palace. But what if the Three Pristines Temple intervenes? To tell you the truth, Cult Master Chu, I went to the Three Pristines Temple before I came here, but I was rejected. Without the Three Pristines Temple's permission, the mysterious heaven realm wouldn't dare to go too far." Chu Xiu sneered and said, "If they want to intervene, then so be it. But do you think the Three Pristines Temple will intervene? Or to what extent would they dare to intervene? We're not targeting the Three Pristines Temple, but the mysterious heaven realm. If the Three Pristines Temple intervenes, they can only mediate. Would they dare to join the battle and become enemies with the entire mortal world? Don't forget that the Tao Master isn't here. Without the Tao Master's instructions, they wouldn't dare to do so. Whether it's Zheng Tai or Hua Gongbi, they wouldn't dare." The last time he went to the Three Pristines Temple to trade, he realized that the Tao Master's prestige in the Three Pristines Temple was beyond imagination. Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi were powerhouses at the 8th level of the heaven, and they could control a top sect in the outside world. However, Chu Xiu found that they didn't have the slightest opinion. To be precise, once it involved the Tao Master's orders, or involved the domain controlled by the Tao Master, they would become like this. Chu Xiu couldn't understand whether they respected the Tao Master or feared him. Anyway, the Tao Master wasn't here. Chu Xiu was 90% sure that the two temporary leaders of the Three Pristines Temple, Zheng Tai and Hua Gongbi, would definitely not dare to drag the Three Pristines Temple into the battle between the mortal world and the Dalyu Ocean. Seeing that Chu Xiu was confident, the old celestial master didn't hesitate anymore. He said in a deep voice, "I'll go to Eastern Qi to gather people during this period of time. When will we attack the mysterious heaven realm?" Chu Xiu said in a deep voice, "There's no hurry. We now represent the entire mortal world, so we naturally can't just attack directly. We have to find an excuse. This is called having a good reason. How is the reputation of the mysterious heaven realm in West Chu? I'm not talking about the Three Pristines Temple, but the other sects?" The old celestial master hesitated. To be honest, the mysterious heaven realm is very well behaved most of the time, and they don't go too far. After all, there are rules set by the Three Pristines Temple. Although the mysterious heaven realm doesn't care as much about its reputation as the Three Pristines Temple, it won't go too far. Chu Xiu touched his chin and said, "They are well behaved most of the time, but does that mean they don't follow the rules in a small part of the time? It's hard to find someone doing good, but isn't it easy to find someone doing bad? Old Celestial Master, feel free to contact the martial arts world of Eastern Qi. I'll send someone to deal with West Chu." The old Celestial Master nodded and said, "All right, but the Kunlun Devil Cult is now a big tree that attracts the wind. If your subordinates enter West Chu, I'm afraid they will be recognized." Chu Xiu laughed when he heard that. "Old Celestial Master, don't worry. The sacred sect is full of talents. We may lack other things, but we don't lack people." As he said that, Chu Xiu waved his hand and transmitted a few words to his subordinate. Not long after, a handsome young martial artist wearing the black warrior suit of the Kunlun Devil Cult with a long sword at his waist strode into the hall. The current Kunlun Devil Cult was indeed a big tree that attracted the wind. Not including Chu Xiu, Lu Fengxian, Lu Jianghe, and the others were actually not unknown people after several battles, even in the Dalyu Ocean and the lower realm. Even the elite hall masters of the Kunlun Devil Cult like Tangya and Yen Bugui were the same. They had distinctive characteristics and would definitely be recognized. However, the young man in front of him had the cultivation of the early stage of heaven and earth elemental enlightenment. He was very young, and his face was a little unfamiliar. At least, the old celestial master did not recognize him, so he should not be a senior member of the Kunlun Devil Cult. When did the Kunlun Devil Cult produce such a young talent? Chu Xiu waved his hand and said, "This is a disciple of the sacred sect, Yishao. He has received part of my inheritance. He is meticulous and skilled in doing things. I'll leave this matter to him." As he said that, Chu Xiu said to Yishao, Bring some of the disciples who have never left the sect to West Chu and find a way to blackmail the mysterious heaven realm. At the very least, you have to give us an excuse to attack the mysterious heaven realm. Remember, the time for this mission is a little tight. It must be completed before the old Celestial Master returns. The old Celestial Master could not stand it anymore. He quickly said, "Cult Master Chu, you're making things difficult for us. If the mysterious heaven realm really behaves well during this period and you don't have anything to blackmail us, what can you do? This kind of thing depends on luck. If I go to Eastern Qi, we can buy some time." Before Chu Xiu could say anything, Yi Shao shook his head and said, "Thank you for your understanding, Celestial Master, but the people of the sacred sect are not so rigid. If there is a blackmail, we will find a chance to blackmail them. If there is no blackmail, we will create one ourselves. So, Celestial Master, don't worry about us. If I can't even do such a small thing, how can I go back to the sacred sect and see the cult master?" The old Celestial Master looked at Yi Shao, speechless. Where did Chu Xiu find such a young and talented disciple? Most importantly, this group of people had been trained by Chu Xiu. There was clearly something wrong with their way of thinking. They might not have learned anything else, but they were very familiar with Chu Xiu's unconventional way of doing things. It was fine if there was only one or two people like that, but if the entire Kunlun Devil cult was made up of people like that, even the old Celestial Master would be afraid, even though they were allies. Chapter 1426. In a large hall in the West Chu Shentian territory, a young Taoist priest wearing a black and gold robe and a black jade crown was reading the information sent by the disciples of the mysterious heaven territory. He was handsome and masculine with a touch of sharpness. His cultivation had even reached the third heaven of martial immortal. He was Bai Yuchen's personal disciple, Feng Yu. He was also the designated successor of the mysterious heaven territory. Bai Yuchen wanted to borrow the Taishen Dao realm from the Three Pristines Temple to help Feng Yu, a third heaven martial immortal, reach the fourth heaven. In fact, Feng Yu was quite a proud person. He was also from a Taoist sect. He did not think he was inferior to Su Gushan and Fang Yizhen from the Three Pristines Temple. Even without the Taishen Dao realm, he could reach the fourth heaven sooner or later with his own foundation. Why bother asking the Three Pristines Temple? Although the entire mysterious heaven territory basically followed the Three Pristines Temple's lead, in fact, not many warriors in the mysterious heaven territory were willing to truly submit to the Three Pristines Temple. After looking through the information, Feng Yu could not help but shake his head and say, "This lower realm is a bit too barren." Most of the so-called major sects' inheritances were not worth mentioning 10,000 years ago. The Celestial Master Mansion that Master personally took care of was not famous among the Taoist sects 10,000 years ago. It was only famous for the Thunder sect. I didn't expect it to become the leader of the Taoist sects in the lower realm. What a joke! A disciple beside him said, "Actually, this is also because the West Chu land is too remote. However, Master, I found out a few days ago through a wind organization in the lower realm. The Four Symbols sect actually still has inheritances in the lower realm." Feng Yu raised his eyebrows. "Oh? Four Symbols sect? They were quite famous in the ancient times, but why haven't I heard of them in the lower realm?" The disciple said, "Because the real Four Symbols sect was actually destroyed in the ancient times. Now there is no real Four Symbols sect in the pugilistic world. What is left are only four sects that obtain the inheritance of the Four Symbols sect. Their names have also changed. Among them, the Blue Dragon Society has become a lowly assassin and has been absorbed by Chu Xiu's Kunlun Devil cult. The White Tiger Hall had submitted to the imperial court and was no longer a force to be reckoned with. The Black Tortoise School did not inherit the true formation path of the Four Symbols divine sect. Instead, they were more proficient in the refinement of machinery and other messy things. Only the Vermilion Bird Pavilion had inherited the pill recipes and secret arts of the Vermilion Bird lineage of the Four Elements divine sect, as well as the secret art of rebirth through fire refinement. It's a pity that even the Vermilion Bird Pavilion doesn't know how to use it, wasting the inheritance of the vermilion bird lineage of the Four Symbols Divine Sect. Feng Yu's eyes immediately lit up. Our mysterious heaven realm doesn't lack pill recipes or secret techniques, but I've heard of this flame refinement rebirth secret technique. By refining the heart flame into one's body and infusing it with vitality, no matter how severe one's injuries were, one would be able to release vitality when bathed in the heart flame and recover instantly. This secret technique could even be used on the primordial spirit, which was quite rare. Bring your men to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion and trade with them for the secret method of rebirth through fire refinement. The disciple was taken aback. But that's the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's inherited secret technique. Will the Vermilion Bird Pavilion agree to it if we just go there to trade? How strong is the Vermilion Bird Pavilion in the lower realm? Feng Yu asked. The disciple replied, they're a little weak, so they can't be ranked. How about compared to the Celestial Master Mansion? There's no way. Feng Yu flicked his sleeves and snorted coldly. That's it. We can even touch the Celestial Master Mansion in the mysterious heaven realm, let alone the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. Previously, due to the suppression of the Three Purities Temple, the mysterious heaven realm didn't do anything too excessive after descending to the lower realm. But now that Bai Yuqin had brought his men to touch the Celestial Master Mansion, the Three Purities Temple didn't respond at all. This also made the other mysterious heaven realm cultivators think. The entire Daluotian mysterious heaven realm, the second strongest Dao sect, was extremely afraid of the Three Purities Temple. They didn't dare to disobey the Three Purities Temple's orders. Since the Three Purities Temple didn't care about this matter, what else did they have to fear? Let's go, bring our men to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. In the dense forest outside the mysterious heaven realm, Yishao stood in the distance and watched Feng Yu lead the mysterious heaven realm disciples in the direction of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. A cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Qi Yuanli of the wind-sweeping tower stood beside Yishao. For some reason, he suddenly felt that Yi Zhao's smile was very similar to that of Cult Master Chu from back then. Qi Yuanli hadn't seen Chu Xiu for a long time. With Chu Xiu's current strength and status, he, the Vice Tower Master of the world's #1 wind medium force, was just a small wind medium in front of Chu Xiu. There was no chance for him to see Chu Xiu again. That was why he felt that Yi Zhao resembled Chu Xiu. He didn't know if he resembled the current Chu Xiu, but at least he resembled the Chu Xiu from back then. Others might not know Yi Zhao's identity, but Qi Yuanli did. This young man didn't seem to be famous in the underworld, but he was the only person in the underworld who had obtained a portion of Cult Master Chu's inheritance. It was enough to say that he was half a disciple of Cult Master Chu. Just this identity alone was already very shocking. Yishao turned his head and smiled at Qi Yuanli. Tower Master Qi, I've troubled you this time. The sacred church will remember this favor. Qi Yuanli smiled bitterly. Vice Tower Master, I'm just a Vice Tower Master. Young Master Yi, you're too polite. However, if the mysterious heaven realm finds out what I've done, our wind-sweeping tower will be in trouble. Our wind-sweeping tower is just a group of wind mediums. With the strength of the mysterious heaven realm, they can probably crush us with one finger. Yishao said indifferently, what are you afraid of, Tower Master Qi? The information you gave to the mysterious heaven realm is real. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's inheritance isn't real? The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's current situation isn't real? Since it's all real, why are you afraid of the mysterious heaven realm finding trouble with you? Moreover, it's unknown whether there will be a mysterious heaven realm in the underworld after some time. Qi Yuanli's expression became extremely shocked when he saw Yi Zhao's unfathomable smile. It was obvious that he had thought of something. Yi Zhao looked at Qi Yuanli with a smile that didn't seem like a smile and said indifferently, Tower Master Qi and the Cult Master are old friends, so I believe in Tower Master Qi and the wind-sweeping tower's reputation. Moreover, Tower Master Qi, don't forget that we're both sects from the lower realm. Whether it's the mysterious heaven realm or the Three Pure Palace, they're both Daluotian sections. We're not on the same side. So, Tower Master Qi, I believe you know which side the wind-sweeping tower will stand on. I won't say any more. Qi Yuanli quickly nodded. Yes. Of course I know. Yi Xiao waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Since that's the case, I still have things to do, so I won't say any more. If Tower Master Qi wants first-hand information, then don't return to Eastern Qi for now. Just take some people and observe the surroundings of the mysterious heaven realm. There will be a surprise after some time." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Xiao and the elite disciples of the Kunlun devil cult behind him turned into a black light and disappeared, trailing far behind the mysterious heaven realm martial artists. Qi Yuanli couldn't help but sigh as he looked at Yi Xiao's back. Talented people appear in every generation. Qi Yuanli had personally witnessed the era when Chu Xiu's name shook the underworld. Now, the younger generations of the Kunlun devil cult were already so outstanding, and Chu Xiu was already a demon master who could dominate the entire underworld. This made Qi Yuanli feel a little emotional. Was it time for him to retire? The underworld was too dangerous. He wanted to retire. As one of the 4 spirits, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion did not have a big reputation in the underworld. The members of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion were all women, and they were very good at refining pills and healing techniques. Thus, they opened up a large medicinal field in the depths of the 100,000 mountain range, refining pills and cultivating in peace. Thus, over the years, no matter what happened in the underworld, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion could not be affected. In addition, the martial artists of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion never left the mountain to roam the underworld, so it was quite peaceful. Now that the Daluotian martial artists had descended to the lower world, the underworld was in chaos, but this did not affect the Vermilion Bird Pavilion at all. The only impact was that because the Daluotian and the lower world were connected, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's medicinal field had a great harvest, and many spirit herbs that had gone extinct before were growing in the depths of the 100,000 mountain range. This was good news for the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. At this moment, inside the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery red tassel dress with a curvy figure was in the medicinal field, instructing the disciples of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion to pick various herbs. She was the current Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master, Su Qiutong. She was not very strong, only at the heaven and earth elemental enlightenment realm. Furthermore, this was because of the essence Qi wave, which increased her strength. Otherwise, she would only be at the early stage of the true fire spirit refinement realm. A disciple hurriedly ran over to report, Pavilion Master, people from the mysterious heaven realm are here, and they want to see you." Su Qiutong's eyes revealed a hint of doubt. Why is the mysterious heaven realm looking for me? Could it be that they also want to buy pills from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion? Although the Vermilion Bird Pavilion traded pills with many martial arts forces in the lower world, in her opinion, the mysterious heaven realm was a top Daluotian force, and they should not be interested in the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pills. Su Qiutong entered the main hall with doubt, and with a bright smile on her face, she said, "Esteemed masters from the mysterious heaven realm are here, I hope you don't take offense." The moment he saw Su Qiutong, Feng Yu's eyes immediately revealed a hint of surprise. It was not that he had not seen women before, but he had never seen a woman with such a stunning temperament like Su Qiutong. Dao sects did not accept women, and in other sects, there were very few women who could reach the peak. Moreover, although most women were beautiful, their beauty was purely based on their physical appearance. Su Qiutong's beauty lay in her mature and elegant temperament. Although her strength was nothing in the Daluotian world, in the lower world, she was the pavilion master of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion for many years, and her temperament was far from what ordinary women could compare to. Chapter 1427. Although Su Qiutong was stunning, Feng Yu was the successor of the mysterious heaven realm. He naturally wasn't here for a woman. Feng Yu smiled. "I'm here today to make a deal with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion." Su Qiutong thought that Feng Yu was really here for the elixir. She thought that she had just received a big deal. She immediately revealed a bright smile. "What kind of elixir do you want? The Vermilion Bird Pavilion has everything." Feng Yu shook his head. "No, I'm not here for the elixir." "Then why are you here?" Feng Yu said in a deep voice, to trade for the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's fiery rebirth technique. Su Qiutong's expression changed. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion wasn't good at martial arts that involved killing. This was because when their ancestors obtained the ruins of the Four Symbols Divine Sect, the part of the martial path related to fighting and killing was missing. However, the fiery rebirth technique was one of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's most important secret techniques. It represented the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's true foundation. How could they trade it? So, Su Qiutong refused without even thinking about it. Please forgive me. The fiery rebirth technique is the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret technique. We won't trade it, nor will we teach it to outsiders. Feng Yu shook his head. Pavilion Master Su, it's not that my words are harsh, but the fiery rebirth technique is useless to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion. I understand your Vermilion Bird Pavilion. You don't usually participate in the fighting and you don't even have the chance to be injured. What use do you have for this secret technique? On the contrary, the mysterious heaven realm has many powerful techniques that can help you reach the martial immortal realm. You can choose any of them. Su Qiutong shook her head. I'm sorry. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion only cultivates our own techniques. We don't care if it's good or not. We don't need it. Feng Yu suddenly revealed a smile at Su Qiutong's unyielding attitude. Pavilion Master Su, you said the secret technique isn't taught to outsiders? Then if I want to marry you and become your cultivation companion, wouldn't I be considered an outsider? Su Qiutong was taken aback. What did you say? Are you joking? Feng Yu said indifferently, Pavilion Master Su, do you think I'm joking? I'm serious. This humble Taoist master is the mysterious Heaven Realm Sect Master, Bai Yuchen, and I am the next successor of the mysterious Heaven Realm. I believe that this identity won't disgrace you, Pavilion Master Su. Dao companions were not husband and wife, but they were more like husband and wife. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly separately. Dao companions are people who support each other on the path of cultivation. In the future, when I ascend to the ninth heavens of the martial immortal realm, I can also bring you to the peak. Su Qiutong was able to become the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master. Although she was a woman, she was also a powerful woman. She had never thought about relying on a man. Therefore, Feng Yu's current appearance did not make her feel that he was very lofty. Instead, she felt that he was extremely conceited and arrogant. Not to mention the possibility of him becoming the strongest person in the nine heavens in the future, just the fact that he used the name of his own sect to pressure others made Su Qiutong somewhat look down on him. However, Su Qiutong didn't dare to offend Feng Yu. She could only say tactfully, "It's me who doesn't deserve you. I've never had any extravagant hopes of becoming a martial immortal." The smile on Feng Yu's face gradually disappeared. He stretched out a hand and said lightly, 5 days. Su Qiutong was stunned. What 5 days? Feng Yu said indifferently, I'll only give you 5 days to consider, Pavilion Master Su. I won't say threatening words. It's beneath my dignity. I'll give you 5 days to investigate the mysterious heaven realm and see the strength of the mysterious heaven realm. At the same time, I'll give you the chance to find out what happened to the Celestial Master Mansion and let you see the style of the mysterious heaven realm. I'll give you the choice. Either you trade the secret technique of rebirth through fire refinement, or you and I become Tao companions. I'll take your secret technique and help you become a martial immortal. There's no third choice. After saying that, Feng Yu flung his sleeves and stepped into the air. He completely ignored the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's formation and left. As the successor of the mysterious heaven realm and the most outstanding young martial artist of the Tao sect, Feng Yu didn't want to ruin his demeanor over such a small matter. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion can investigate the strength and status of the mysterious heaven realm yourself. You only have the right to choose. You don't have the right to refuse. Su Qiutong clenched her teeth in anger. For so many years, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion had stood aloof from worldly affairs, and they were all women. Hence, the people of the pugilistic world would give them some face. Even the top sects wouldn't bully them like this. Especially when Feng Yu wanted to force her to be his Tao companion. That made her feel even more humiliated, However, Su Qiutong didn't need to investigate to know the strength of the mysterious heaven realm. They didn't have the right to refuse. At that moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Pavilion Master Su, are you furious? You can consider cooperating with me. Who is it? Come out. Su Qiutong yelled. She suddenly realized that the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's formation was like a sieve. Anyone could enter and leave at will. Yi Xiao walked out of the hall. Even with Su Qiutong's current strength, she didn't notice when Yi Xiao walked into the hall. Who are you? Yi Xiao smiled and cupped his hands. Kunlun's sacred sex Yi Xiao greets Pavilion Master Su. Su Qiutong was shocked when she heard Yi Xiao's identity. Who in the pugilistic world didn't know the reputation of the Kunlun devil cult? Who didn't know the demon Lord Chu Xiu? He was the only powerful existence in the pugilistic world who could wrestle with the Daluotian forces and make them lose face. Mr. Yi, why are you here? Do you want the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret techniques? Su Qiutong smiled bitterly. Yi Xiao shook his head. The Kunlun devil cult has countless secret techniques. We don't lack one or two. I saw what happened just now. The mysterious heaven realm is so overbearing that it has caused the West Chu pugilistic world to complain. Now, the sacred sect is ready to seek justice for the entire West Chu pugilistic world, but we lack a good excuse. The Celestial Master Mansion has some conflicts with the mysterious heaven realm, and because we are too powerful, we can't use it as an excuse. Pavilion Master Su's Vermilion Bird Pavilion is very suitable. So, I'm here to ask if Pavilion Master Su is willing to join forces with the sacred sect to fight against the mysterious heaven realm? Su Qiutong's eyes widened. She knew what this meant. It meant that Chu Xiu was ready to join forces with the entire West Chu pugilistic world to fight against the mysterious heaven realm. Once she spoke, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion would become the fuse of this matter and become the focus of attention. It could be said that if she agreed, it would be equivalent to standing on the side of the Kunlun devil cult and becoming enemies with the mysterious heaven realm. If the Kunlun devil cult lost, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's fate could be imagined. Su Qiutong couldn't help but ask, "Can I refuse?" Yi Xiao stood with his hands behind his back and laughed. "Of course you can. It's just an excuse. If the Vermilion Bird Pavilion can't do it, I'll find another one. I, Yi Xiao, can't threaten a woman. If I do, the sect lord won't forgive me. To put it bluntly, if you can't find an excuse, then don't use it. Just attack the mysterious heaven realm." If Feng Yu was arrogant, then Yi Xiao was confident. He was confident because of the existence of the Kunlun devil cult. Su Qiutong thought about the humiliation she suffered and the fact that she didn't even have a choice. When she saw Yi Xiao's attitude, Su Qiutong only thought for a moment before nodding. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion is willing to stand on the side of the Kunlun devil cult and attack the mysterious heaven realm. Yi Xiao smiled. "Thank you, Pavilion Master Su. I'll stay in the Vermilion Bird Pavilion as a liaison. Once the plan starts, I'll immediately attack." 5 days later, Feng Yu, who was in the mysterious heaven realm, waved his hand and called a disciple over. "Is there still no news from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion?" The disciple shook his head. "No. Not a single disciple from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion has come." Feng Yu rubbed his chin. The women from the Vermilion Bird Pavilion were really stubborn. Or did they not know what kind of existence the mysterious heaven realm was? At that moment, another disciple came and said that Bai Yuchen had called him over. When Feng Yu arrived at the main hall, he saw that Bai Yuchen's face had darkened. The other mysterious heaven realm martial immortals also had ugly expressions. "Master, what's wrong? What's wrong? Look at what you've done." Bai Yuchen threw a piece of paper at Feng Yu. Feng Yu took a look and saw that it was actually a document that stated how overbearing and unreasonable he had been in the mysterious heaven realm. He had forcefully bought the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's cultivation technique and forcefully married Su Qiutong. He had even added a lot of details to the document, making him seem like a high-ranking official. "That's pure slander." Feng Yu threw the document on the ground angrily. Bai Yuchen said coldly, "So your visit to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion is also slander?" Feng Yu said solemnly, I did make a trip to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, but that's what you said, Master. There are many secret techniques left behind in the lower realm from 10,000 years ago. The martial world in the lower realm doesn't know what's good for them, so we should try our best to collect them. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's fire refinement rebirth technique is one such technique. Did I ask you to forcefully marry the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master? Feng Yu explained, not as a wife, but as a cultivation companion. I really want to become her cultivation companion. Moreover, if I can become Su Qiutong's cultivation companion, the mysterious heaven realm will have a closer relationship with the sex in the lower realm. It will be easier for us to take in other sections. Nonsense! Bai Yuchen shouted angrily, look at what's written on the back of the document. Feng Yu flipped it over and saw the back of the document. The mysterious heaven realm relied on the Daluotian forces to go against the law and act overbearingly. They forcefully stole the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's cultivation technique and forced the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's pavilion master to marry her. They disregarded the martial world in the lower realm and humiliated the dignity of the martial world in the lower realm. We martial artists would rather break than bend our backs. We hereby swear that we will join forces to suppress the mysterious heaven realm, return justice to us, and defend our dignity. The words were signed. Kunlun Devil Cult, Moon Worshipping Cult, Celestial Master Abode, Eastern Qi, Western Chu, Northern Yen, Chunyang Dao Sect, True Martial Cult, Shangshuang Clan, Sword King City. The long list of names made Feng Yu dizzy. He only knew one thing, and that was that things had gotten out of hand. Chapter 1428. Ever since the Daluotian warriors came to the lower realm, they had been doing one thing, and that was to downplay their purpose of coming to the lower realm and downplay their invaders attribute. In fact, the Daluotian warriors coming to the lower realm was an invasion. They occupied the territory of the lower realm pugilistic world and robbed their disciples. If this wasn't an invasion, what was? However, the lower realm pugilistic world was not the Daluotian barbarians of 10,000 years ago. They had strength and people, so the Daluotian could not really invade. If the Zenith Heaven really invaded the lower realm forcefully, they would indeed be able to win. However, the problem was that the disciple that they had snatched over. Did anyone know what he was thinking? Were they not afraid that they would betray them and completely destroy the sect? Thus, ever since they descended to the lower realms, the celestial absolute plane had been proclaiming that they were of the same origin, that they were one family, and so on. This was all to dilute the nature of invaders, allowing the cultivators of the lower realms to join them. The heavenly Luo treasure temple had done the best. It had directly taken the Great Light Temple and the heavenly Luo treasure temple in the lower realm, and its strength had skyrocketed. Now that this document had appeared, the mysterious heaven realm had completely become enemies with the lower realm pugilistic world. It had become a tyrannical invader. Most importantly, not only had it angered the lower realm pugilistic world, but it had also offended the Daluotian forces. People were good at dividing their attributes. If you were a Taoist, he was a Buddhist. If you were a righteous Tao, he was a demonic Tao. But now that such a thing had happened, there were only two kinds of people: celestial absolute heaven martial artists and lower realm martial artists. It didn't matter if the mysterious heaven realm caused trouble, but the other Daluotian sects were still developing well in the lower realm. The Star River Martial Arts Academy had recruited many disciples, and the other Guzun lineages had also established their sects in the lower realm. The heavenly Luo treasure temple had even prepared to train Su Yun and the others as official disciples. But the mysterious heaven realm had stirred up trouble here, causing the relationship between the Daluotian warriors and the lower realm warriors to be at odds. What was its intention? It deserved to be killed. Therefore, the moment this document appeared, the mysterious heaven realm had offended both sides. Feng Yu was not an idiot. He broke out in a cold sweat. Putting down the document, Feng Yu shouted, "Master! There was definitely a problem here. When I went to the Vermilion Bird Pavilion, I had already investigated it. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion's presence in the martial arts world in the lower bound was extremely low, and it did not have a powerful backer or relationship. Even if I went too far, it was impossible for me to cause such a big impact. There's definitely a conspiracy behind this. Someone is definitely trying to stir up trouble. Bai Yuchen snorted coldly. Do I need you to tell me that? Other than the Kunlun devil cult, which other sect in the lower realm would have such courage and strength? But what could you do even if you knew? Chu Xiu made it clear that he wanted to make a big deal out of this, and you gave him a good excuse to do so. Now, he has stirred up the whole martial arts world in the mortal world. Feng Yu opened his mouth but didn't dare to say anything in the end. What he wanted to say was that the main reason why the matter had become so big in the end was because of Bai Yuchen. If he hadn't schemed against Chu Xiu by suppressing the Celestial Master Abode, how could Chu Xiu have made such a big deal out of it? Bai Yuchen had never imagined that Chu Xiu was the only one who gave the conditions for others to choose, but no one had ever made him choose. Chu Xiu would not choose. He would only smash everything and let others do things according to his rules. At this moment, a disciple rushed in from outside and shouted, "Sect Master, this is bad. The entire mysterious heaven realm is being swarmed by martial artists from all directions. Our mysterious heaven realm is completely surrounded by them." Bai Yuchen's expression changed immediately. Chu Xiu did not give them a chance to prepare or explain at all. As soon as the document was sent out, he had already led his people to make a move. This meant that he had already made preparations. The document was just an excuse. It was a reason for the Daluotian forces and the martial arts world in the mortal world to see. Send a message to the Three Pristines Temple immediately. Tell them that the mysterious heaven realm has been framed. It was Chu Xiu who deliberately provoked the conflict between the Daluotian and the martial arts world in the mortal world. He is vicious and wants to destroy the foundation of the Daluotian. The rest of the disciples, move out and activate the formation. Follow me to fight. Bai Yuchen was an expert at the eighth heaven. He had been in charge of the mysterious heaven realm for so many years, so he could be considered to have experienced a lot. In this situation, there was no other way but to deal with it head-on. At this moment, outside the mysterious heaven realm, countless warriors from the lower realm had already surrounded the mysterious heaven realm. The experts of the Kunlun devil cult under Chu Xiu stood at the forefront. Shang Tianliang, Lu Fengxian, Lu Jianghu, Wei Shuya, Chenqin Di, Su Tianya Fang Baidu. Including Chu Xiu, there were a total of 8 martial immortals. This was definitely enough to wrestle with the top Daluotian sections. Moreover, this did not include the people from the High Heaven sect and the Imperial Sky Pavilion. Although the two sects were attached to the Kunlun devil cult, this time they were going to attack the Daluotian sects, so Chu Xiu did not bring them with him. As for the other martial artists, the experts from the sects of Eastern Qi, Western Chu, and Northern Yen had gathered. The major sects such as the Celestial Master Mansion, the Moon-worshipping cult, the True Martial cult, the Shangshuang clan, and the Sword King city also stood at the forefront. This could be said to be the most united martial artists in the mortal world. Even when Chu Xiu rebuilt the Kunlun devil cult in the past, there were not so many people in the Righteous Path Alliance. Some people knew that the incident with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was a deliberate excuse by Chu Xiu, but others did not know. But it did not matter. Ever since the Daluotian sects came to the mortal world, the sects and forces in the mortal world had been treading on thin ice. Some people chose to join the Daluotian forces, but those who did not want to join the Daluotian sects and wanted to maintain the integrity of their heritage had to be careful. They had to be very cautious about anything related to the Daluotian forces. Now that Chu Xiu's document had been issued, all the martial arts forces in the mortal world had united. For them, it was as if they had found a place to belong. Whether it was the Righteous Path, the Devil Path, the Taoist sect, or the Buddhist sect at this moment, the only label on them was that of the martial arts forces in the mortal world. Lu Jianghu stood beside Chu Xiu. He suddenly sighed and said, "I really didn't expect that one day our holy sect would have such prestige and be able to gather so many martial arts forces. Tithaiske, What happened to the saying that the righteous path and the devil path are irreconcilable? You say no, but your body is very honest. Chu Xiu said lightly, there has never been such a thing as the righteous path and the devil path being irreconcilable. There is no absolute right or wrong in this world. Today, my goal and their interests are the same, so of course they have to listen to me. In other words, if from now on, our holy sect is open to the outside world, we can take all the cultivation methods at will, distribute all the pills for free, and don't interfere in any Jianghu affairs, then we will not be the holy sect anymore. The whole Jianghu will treat us as the real, holy sect. Lu Jiang he shook his head when he heard that. Forget it. What kind of holy sect is that? It's just a sucker. I guess it won't be long before it's emptied. Chu Xiu did not continue to talk nonsense with Lu Jianghe. He said in a deep voice, where is Pavilion Master Su of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion? Master, he's here. Yi Xiao held Su Qiutong's hand as they walked out from the crowd. Pavilion Master Su, you should know what's going to happen next. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion is the main character this time. The whole mortal world is here to stand up for you. Don't worry and come out. We will be your support. Su Qiutong quickly nodded and said, Cult Master Chu, don't worry. Mr. Yi has told me about this. Watching Yi Xiao holding Su Qiutong's hand as they walked down, Chu Xiu touched his chin and said in confusion, the two of them are together? How long has it been? Mei Qinglian, who was standing to the side, said in a tone as if she had never heard of love at first sight. Chu Xiu continued to ask in confusion, but I heard that Su Qiutong refused to be Feng Yu's cultivation partner. Why is she with Yi Xiao now? Mei Qinglian snorted. I've seen the information on Wind Sweeping Tower. Feng Yu is not looking for a cultivation partner. He's looking for a servant. If he didn't have the mystic heaven mirror behind him, he would have been slapped in the face. Great Cult Master Chu, you still don't understand women. You can conquer the world with your fists, but can you chase after women with your fists? Yi Xiao is half a disciple of yours. He admires you to the extreme. Not only did he learn martial arts from you, but he also learned how to do things from you. Luckily, he didn't learn from you when it comes to chasing after women. Otherwise, his Yi family would have no descendants. Chu Xiu coughed and snorted. He was here to do serious business, not to discuss this kind of problem with Mei Qinglian. With one step, Chu Xiu's figure appeared in the sky above the mystic heaven mirror. The formation was unsheathed, and the saber gleam streaked across the sky. In the blink of an eye, all the nomological powers were distorted. It was as if the entire world had been forcefully split into two by Chu Xiu's saber. A loud explosion was heard. The formation above the mystic heaven mirror started to tremble violently under the saber gleam. In the end, it exploded on a large scale. If it was the Daluotian mystic heaven mirror, Chu Xiu wouldn't have been able to completely tear it apart with one slash. However, after descending to the lower realm, the mystic heaven mirror didn't have much time to set up the sex formation. This formation was only for the mystic heaven mirror to keep up appearances. It was very fragile. Bai Yuchen, come out and die. Chu Xiu's voice resounded through the void, echoing like the howling of the wind and the roaring of thunder. The martial artists below had mixed feelings, especially those who had joined the alliance of the righteous sects in the past and participated in the siege of the Kunlun devil cult. Seeing Chu Xiu's power now, they completely understood that they and Chu Xiu were already in two different worlds. They weren't even afraid that Chu Xiu would take revenge on them. It was very simple. At Chu Xiu's level, it would be too degrading for him to still remember the little grudges of the past. However, they were allies now. Chu Xiu represented the entire martial arts world in the lower realm. The stronger Chu Xiu was, the stronger the martial arts world in the lower realm would be. Chapter 1429. The Mystic Heaven Realm was ranked second among the Daluotian sects in the northern region. In the southern or eastern region, it was enough to stand at the peak. All these years, the Mystic Heaven Realm had never been attacked. This was the first time. Humiliation. With a furious roar, boundless black waters surged out, directly covering half of the sky. Bai Yuchen stepped on the black water and shouted, "Chu Xiu! What are you trying to do? Are you only willing to let rivers of blood flow between the martial arts world and the Daluotian world?" Chu Xiu let out a long laugh and shouted sternly, "Rivers of blood? Today we will fight for the dignity of the martial arts world in the lower realm. Even if rivers of blood flow, we will not hesitate. As martial artists, we cultivate our bodies, nourish our minds, and comprehend the world. With the strength of humans, we seek strength that is comparable to an earth immortal. It is so that we will no longer bow our heads to any existence in this world. The earth cannot suppress us, and the heavens cannot stop us. Now, the mystic heaven realm wants to suppress us and act like a tyrant. What right do you have? After cultivating martial arts for a lifetime, no one wants to become a coward. Today, we are here for rivers of blood, for the dignity of the martial arts world in the lower realm." Chu Xiu's words were loud and clear, resounding in everyone's ears. It made the martial artists of the lower realm feel their blood boil, and they kept roaring. The old celestial master looked at Bai Yuchen with a hint of sympathy. "What are you talking about? Why don't you just start fighting?" Chu Xiu was famous for his ability to stir up people's hearts and stir up trouble in the lower realm. If you asked him to speak, he could even turn black into white, not to mention that the matter in the mystic heaven realm was already quite dark. Originally, it was a fight in the pugilistic world, with grudges and conflicts. But now, Chu Xiu had completely turned it into dignity and righteousness. Bai Yuchen was about to go berserk. He explained loudly, "Who wants to ride roughshod over the martial arts world in the lower realm? The matter with the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was just a misunderstanding. It's true that my disciple wanted the Vermilion Bird Pavilion's secret technique, but it was just a transaction. He wants to marry Vermilion Bird Pavilion's Pavilion Master Su, but he also wants to become Dao companions with her. Isn't that normal?" Chu Xiu waved his hand, and Su Qiutong of the Vermilion Bird Pavilion stepped out from the crowd. The Vermilion Bird Pavilion was named so. Most importantly, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion stood aloof from worldly affairs, but they still had dealings with the major sects in the Jianghu and had connections. Furthermore, all of their members were women, so it was easy for them to attract sympathy. At this time, if Chu Xiu stood out and said that the mysterious heaven realm had bullied him, not to mention sympathy, some people might even applaud. Standing before the gazes of the many martial immortal level experts, Su Qiutong heaved a sigh of relief. Although she rarely stepped into the Jianghu, she had been in charge of a large sect like the Vermilion Bird Pavilion for so many years, so she was quite decisive. Su Qiutong said loudly, "Headmaster Bai said that this matter is a misunderstanding, but I don't think it's a misunderstanding. How could the secret techniques of their own sect be taken out and traded so casually? If someone wanted to trade the mysterious heaven realm's core Dao scriptures, would you agree? Also, although I, Su Qiutong, am a woman, I am also the leader of a sect. I never thought I would be humiliated like this. I can only lament my lack of strength. What's the difference between me and those women who were robbed? Your disciple, Feng Yu, only gave me 5 days. These 5 days are only a choice. I don't even have the right to refuse. After 5 days, the Vermilion Bird Pavilion will no longer exist in the Jianghu. The mysterious heaven realm, a large sect from the Jianghu, is so mighty, so domineering. They decide the life and death of a sect with a single word. My Vermilion Bird Pavilion can't even withstand a single blow from them. In front of a martial immortal level expert, my strength is no different from a weak woman. So, today I can only ask everyone to save my Vermilion Bird Pavilion for the sake of our friendship in the past." Su Qiutong added oil to the fire as she recounted what happened in the past. This instantly caused many of the cultivators in the Jianghu to be filled with righteous indignation. In the past, there were many killings in the Jianghu, and many forces even thought it was normal. If the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was threatened by any force from the Jianghu, most people would remain silent. They would even curse in their hearts, saying that the person who attacked the Vermilion Bird Pavilion was too despicable, actually attacking a woman, and so on. But now, the person who attacked was a Daluotian sect. This made them feel like they were facing a common enemy. It was as if their woman was being bullied. Feng Yu stood up and scolded, "B****, you're talking nonsense. When have I ever threatened you like this?" Su Qiutong pretended to be frightened and immediately took 2 steps back. She was hugged by Yishao. This made Feng Yu so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He was the heir of the mysterious heaven realm, and he wanted to take her as his cultivation companion. Yet, he didn't agree and even said that he was a bully. In the end, in just a few days, this woman actually threw herself into someone else's arms. This was a complete humiliation to him. Chu Xiu said coldly, "What? You dare to threaten me in front of me? You don't even take the martial arts world of the lower realm seriously." Bai Yuchen looked at the warriors from the lower realm who had gathered around him. He let out a long breath and stared coldly at Chu Xiu. He said in a deep voice, "Chu Xiu, I've underestimated you. I've lost this round. I only wanted to use the Celestial Master Abode to force you to hand over the Tao Scripture, but I didn't expect you to dare to make things so big and directly provoke a war between the upper and lower realms. I can't bear this karma. I admit defeat. I don't want the Tao Scripture of the Myriad Tao Heavenly Palace. I will compensate the Celestial Master Abode. At the same time, the mysterious heaven realm will seal itself for 10 years. Be it the Daluotian or the lower realm, we will no longer participate in the conflict. Are you satisfied?" Although Bai Yuchen looked confident in front of the 3 pristine hall previously, he was really afraid at that moment. Chu Xiu was a King lunatic. For such a small matter, he had stirred up the entire martial arts world of the lower realm and provoked a conflict between the Daluotian and the lower realm. If things went wrong, it would be a bloodbath in the pugilistic world. In the face of such a huge scene, Bai Yuchen was terrified. He really couldn't bear this karma. Even though the 3 Pure Palace had promised to support him, Bai Yuchen couldn't bear such a huge karma. Chu Xiu shook his head. He didn't send a voice transmission. Instead, he lowered his voice so that only he and Bai Yuchen could hear it. "Sect Leader Bai, you're the sect leader of the mysterious heaven realm and an 8th heaven martial immortal expert. How can you be so naive? Are you afraid after seeing such a huge commotion? Do you want to admit defeat? If admitting defeat was useful, why would there be so many disputes in the pugilistic world? I've put in so much effort to create such a huge commotion, but it ended so anticlimactic. I can agree to it, but will the Celestial Master Abode agree to it? Will the martial arts world of the lower realm agree to it? Sect Leader Bai, it's too late. There would definitely be a battle between the Daluotian and the martial arts world of the lower realm. In fact, the Taoist master and the leader of the Sanskrit sect had already expected this. The reason why they asked you to stop before they left was because they knew that no one but them could suppress this battle. Now that the saber has been unsheathed, it can't be put back. I, Chu Xiu, am the one who unsheathed the saber, but unfortunately, I'm not an expert at the 9th heaven like the Taoist master, so I can't put the saber back. In every great era, there will always be people who shed blood and sacrifice. Sacrificing your mysterious heaven realm in exchange for the Daluotian and the martial arts world of the lower realm to redefine the rules and create a prosperous era of martial arts. Sect Leader Bai, your death in the mysterious heaven realm is worth it. Bai Yuchen felt cold all over. He understood that from the moment Chu Xiu began to plan this matter, he had no intention of leaving the mysterious heaven realm any chance of survival. After thinking it through, Bai Yuchen no longer held any hope. The black light around him flickered and turned into a black water domain that covered the entire sky. At this moment, the great darkness sky and the entire mysterious heaven realm were plunged into complete darkness. Chu Xiu, if you want my mysterious heaven realm to die, you won't have a good time either. Today, even if my mysterious heaven realm turns into a river of blood, I will still completely cripple your Kunlun devil cult. Don't forget, my mysterious heaven realm is not your only opponent. Chu Xiu raised his eyebrows and said, it's a life and death struggle. Unfortunately, the net of your mysterious heaven realm can catch fish, but can it catch dragons? If you want to fight to the death, you're not qualified. As soon as Chu Xiu's voice fell, he had already used the law embodiment of heaven and earth. In an instant, his huge figure rose into the sky and formed a cross-shaped lotus seal. Bright Buddha's light instantly bloomed, tearing the black water absolute domain apart, allowing the sunlight to shine again. Under the light, following Chu Xiu's fierce shout, the martial arts sects in the lower realm, led by the old celestial master, Yi Shaonan, and other experts, directly attacked the mysterious heaven realm. Excluding Bai Yuchen, there were only 5 martial immortals in the mysterious heaven realm, while the number of people in the lower realm was almost double. As for the disciples of other realms, the martial arts sects in the lower realm were several times more powerful than the disciples in the lower realm. It should be known that those who came here were the elites of the major sects, and some were even existences at the level of the leaders. In the past, they naturally would not have dared to attack the mysterious heaven realm. But now, with so many experts leading the attack, their courage had multiplied. Chu Xiu used the law embodiment of heaven and earth to form a saber body to break the formation. The saber light that traversed the heaven and earth slashed down. One of the 7 limits, the Heaven Devourer, had even been displayed by Chu Xiu with a power that was comparable to destroying the world. This saber technique was originally suspected to be related to the ancient demon god. At this moment, when Chu Xiu used the law embodiment of heaven and earth to execute the Heaven Devourer, its power increased by 30%, and 30% was unique to Chu Xiu's saber power. Bai Yuchen had once fought with Chu Xiu in the Myriad Dao Heavenly Palace, which was why he knew how terrifying Chu Xiu was. However, Bai Yuchen did not use his full strength at that time. At that time, both sides were just fighting for treasures, but this time, it was a life-and-death battle. Previously, Bai Yuchen had to divide his attention to take care of the other mysterious heaven realm warriors, but this time, he was no longer qualified to be distracted. In a life-and-death battle, all the mysterious heaven realm disciples had to fight with their lives on the line. Who could care about others? Therefore, this time, Bai Yuchen finally unleashed his ultimate power and fought with his life. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.